Professor Alan Woodward is a security expert at the Surrey Centre for Cyber Security.
The irony is quite large here. Their network is so important to all these other companies that there should be no single point of failure, but somehow looks like something's gone wrong internally. Their network just shouldn't have a single point of failure. So even if there's like an equipment failure, it should fail over to another piece of equipment. And the users shouldn't notice the difference.
Millions of websites were put at risk by the Cloudflare failure, which took about 3 hours to resolve. And like an outage at Amazon Web Services last month, it again revealed just how vulnerable the internet remains to technical failures, but also to potential attacks. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US. The Kremlin, meanwhile, says it has not received any information on the peace plan for Ukraine, although Moscow's reiterated it is open to negotiations. And a British politician has been sentenced.
Retail giant CVS is gearing up for floods of customers seeking the perfect meaningless piece of crap for their office gift swap. The company is making no secret that when it comes to wasting the obligatory $20 on a useless electronic dartboard or pretzel maker for someone you couldn't care less about, CVS is your best option.
Our incredible selection of worthless is just the thing that nobody wants. We guarantee you'll find nothing personal or unique in our store.
The company is offering massive discounts on otherwise unsellable items for holiday parties you don't even want to go to, like the $12 decorative lantern, which is expected to be a big hit with customers who grab the first thing they see when they walk in the store.
I really wanted to get something that said, I don't care about any of you people and I didn't put any effort into this.
CVS also has Hanukkah gifts for coworkers who you think might be Jewish, like candles and those little plastic net bags full of chocolate money.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can call and get your thoughts and ideas on this radio program. The phone number to do so is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Riley O'Bill.
What do you want to talk about tonight, Riley?
Well, there's a lot we could talk about. I mean, Trump supposedly released the Epstein files, but then again, AI might be fooling us.
Yeah, I guess I have my doubts about that.
But also, I do have an article we could talk about that I'll send to you here at the bottom of the hour, where the government, the U.S. government, the gang occupying the United States has said that military vets can't access medical cannabis. And in fact, there's also a rumor going around that the Congress has banned THC or hemp once again. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's a big gateway to people thinking for themselves, like, oh crap, this stuff is wonderful. All those people who told me that it, like, that it's the devil's lettuce, they were all lying to me this whole time. Everybody who said it's illegal, throwing people in jail for this, that's insanity.
Cannabis,
as soon as you smoke, you're like, what? What are you talking
I completely
about?
agree. Like, cannabis is one of these things.
Can't have the order followers, you know.
Exactly. We can't have the order followers having cannabis, because then they'll realize, oh, it's just a story. It's just a nonsense show. But the thing about cannabis is it's different than alcohol. Alcohol kind of numbs your brain a little bit, makes you sleepy. At least for me, it does. But cannabis shifts consciousness a little bit in such a way, because it is I would say it's a mild psychedelic. I don't know if you'd agree with me on this, but it is a mild psychedelic. So it does alter your consciousness in such a way that you're going to see patterns differently or think of differently about things. And maybe, just maybe, you might change your worldview.
Yeah, I would agree that it's mind altering. I've never, I don't know about hallucinogenic or anything. But it does alter your thought processes. That can definitely be said.
Yeah.
And I personally like the alteration much more. It's much more desirable than what I get from alcohol mind alteration. Although alcohol is fun while you got a good buzz going, it's the price you pay the next day is too much for me. Because the slow brain doesn't stop until, like 36 hours down the road. And I just don't, I feel like my brain, I would like it to work faster anyways. And I do not want to take things that are going to slow it down like that. I don't seem to notice that effect from cannabis.
What effects do you notice from cannabis that are different, that actually benefit you?
Benefits? Well, when I was younger, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And whenever that has been a problem in my life, cannabis is definitely the best relaxer for it.
Interesting. Do you find it best smoked or eaten for Crohn's disease?
Smoked.
Okay.
And the relief is almost immediate. But I seem to have handled that through dietary choices, and I don't know what else. I don't know exactly what the trigger is. But that's under control and has been for quite a while.
Okay.
It's a matter of, well, it's partially, let's see. What are the benefits? You have, so Bob Marley said it shows you to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It shows you a sort of a different angle on life. And so I don't know if it's, we could talk about the effects of, sustained habitual use and what that does, but, for me, that's probably the greatest benefit, and I would also say it has drawbacks, but I don't know what doesn't,
Yeah, there are a lot of things that have benefits and drawbacks, like cannabis, psychedelics, and these things are actually really useful for us. But drawbacks are always there, and so pay attention to the shadow, I would say.
That's right, and I don't know, back to what you were saying on. They're not going to allow, who did you say, active veterans or? I
think it's active veterans, but I can't remember it. We'll have to look at the article when I pull it up for the bottom after the bottom of the hour.
Well, I mean that's kind of what you sign up for, though. You've made yourself property of the government if you take that job, and there's not a whole lot you can do about their medical experimentation and whatever else they want to do.
Unfortunately, that's very true. When you become the property of the government and work for them, you unfortunately have to obey their rules. You're essentially owned by them. You're essentially a slave.
That's right. And you can claim yourself back at any point, but they'll be very upset with you.
Well, they'll make you pay an exit fee.
Yeah.
It's not like being in an HOA. HOAs don't charge you an exit fee.
Yeah, I don't know what all the ramifications are for deciding you no longer want to be in the military, or dishonorable discharge, I believe they call it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I know some guys are able to talk to their commanding officer and get a reasonable excuse and just, get their way out clean or whatever. But, yeah, thankfully I've never been in that position. I did think about signing up when I was young and foolish, but never actually happened.
I think everyone has thought those thoughts, and then they realize that it's just a fool's game to be part of the military.
Well, I walked into a recruiter's office. They rejected me. I didn't try any harder. I'm sure I could have gotten in had I tried harder. But
why did they reject you? What was the reasons they give?
Oh, I had a recent charge for cannabis.
Oh.
Imagine that.
Yeah, a recent charge for possessing a plant or using a plant?
Yeah.
Odd that.
Right now we have a caller on the line, though. So we're going to go to the phones. On-screen caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, it's Dave Ridley.
Hey, Ridley.
Hi, Dave Ridley.
Hey, so as you guys may have noticed, I've kind of taken it upon myself to try and spew every last brainstorm I can think of that is a solution for the AI extinction risk problem. Does that make sense?
Briefly recap what the AI extinction problem is for us.
The word I should use is PDOOM. So many AI thought leaders have a thing they call PDOOM, probability of doom. For example, Vitalik Buterin, the developer of Ethereum, has a PDOOM of 10% as of a year ago. And AI whistleblower, I'm trying to think if I'm saying his name right. Daniel Kokotoshko is how it seems to be spelled, but it's not pronounced that way. He's a defector from the top AI company, which I call Closed AI, and he has a PDOOM of 90%. So I'm sorry, not 90, 70% as of 6 months ago. So these are people. Doom would be defined as either the wipeout of civilization or the wipeout of all humans. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So as you can imagine, when people start talking about this, the obvious solution that they jump to is, well, we just need the federal government to control everything, which of course is dangerous because usually when the federal government uses regulation to make a problem go away, the problem just gets bigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me because when they start regulating things, they create the potential for the problem to become worse by regulating it wrong, inappropriately, or too restrictive with the AI's models or whatever, and it's just really bad.
So, for example, one of the best regulations that the federal government ever passed, or at least the most popular, is probably civil rights legislation from 1964, which was not all bad by any stretch. But Thomas Sowell claims that things were getting dramatically and rapidly better for black folks right up until 1964. He thinks there's no coincidence there, and that civil rights actually slowed things down in terms of improvements for black folks. But anyway, the same problem.
That sounds highly credible, by the way.
Yeah. Sowell is to be believed usually when he says something. But anyway, I do want to put forward a couple of additional solutions because there's a professor named Max Tegmark who's an AI thought leader. He used to be a physicist and he jumped over to AI about 6 years ago, I think. And he's put out, the scientists are so desperate, he's put out a request for the public to weigh in on suggested solutions for the AI risk problem, and so one of the solutions that I have not been talking about much yet, I have a few that keep coming into my mind. So one of the things is, it seems like whenever you've got a problem with AI, it's usually a result of bad goals. And it's like you give the AI an objective, and it monomaniacally will pursue that objective, right?
Yes.
And this is not that different from humans. If you think about it, this whole concept of the ends justify the means, that's the source of so much human suffering. So it seems like if you want a good AI outcome, you program an AI to be more focused on means than on ends. And I've never heard anyone say this before.
That's a good idea. How do we do that?
That's a good question.
Well, I don't know exactly, but with my LLMs, what I do is there's a thing called a system prompt where you take you download something like Llama, which is an open source large language model. You can download that, and then you can give it instructions. So in my instructions, the system prompt, I put the zero regression principle into the system prompt, and that's a starting point. I'm having to make improvements because not all LLMs understand the zero regression principle very well, but that's just like a starting point.
Okay. Does this communicate these ideas to some of the more popular LLMs?
I don't understand the question.
I'm saying, does your AI talk to the big corporate AIs and tell them, hey, maybe you should think this way?
No, but maybe it should.
Yeah. I don't know if that's possible. I don't do a lot of stuff with computers. I'd rather be outside. But it is very fascinating.
There is another solution that I never seem to hear. Well, there's one guy who's been talking about, I don't remember his name. I just heard it on a podcast the other day. But he has suggested, he's an AI developer, a thought leader, and he has suggested build an AI that is not a super intelligence and not a general intelligence. Rather, it is a narrow intelligence that is just designed to do one thing, and that is to solve this problem, this problem of how do we make sure that the AIs that are developed aren't extinction level threats.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good idea, man. I don't know if you got time to work on that. I think that sounds a little above me.
It's above me for sure, but really, if you have the mind for it, maybe you could try something and see what you can come up with.
Well, I have a lot of handicaps in this area. I am not good with technical things. I'm just an idea guy and a brainstorm guy. I can't implement very well. So the part that I can do is to spew these ideas, and I did put another article up on freekeen.com. So if any of the listeners have ideas, what you can do is just go to freekeen.com and add your idea to the comment section there, which you do not need to log in.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Awesome. Maybe somebody's listening tonight that does have the capacity and the time to do such a thing, and they want to give it a try. Thanks for the ideas. You got anything else tonight, guys. Dave?
Well, there is one other solution that has been suggested by Tegmark. Unfortunately, he's a regulation advocate, but he's right about one thing. He says that people should show up outside companies that are producing, the top companies that are producing the most dangerous AI, and protest.
Showing up outside the building and protesting?
Correct.
I wonder. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how effective a protest is going to be, though. Maybe it'll give some attention to you, but at the same time, they're just going to do what they're going to do without your input.
I don't know. If it was a gigantic swarm of like 5,000 people in front of their doors, that might make them think, I guess.
Yeah, but a protest of like 50 people, not going to do much good.
Yeah. I don't know. 20,000 though, and they might be forced to do something, right?
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I don't even know where these places are. I know where the data center in Utah is. I used to drive down there every once in a while just for fun.
I think it's in...
There was always a UHP car sitting there with its lights on and like nobody in it.
Isn't it like in Bluffdale, I remember?
Uh-huh. Kind of right across the road from Camp Williams.
Yeah, and here they are complaining about drought, and they have this data center that uses so much water. It's like, dude, are you even paying attention to the words coming out of your mouth? You're telling us there's a drought, and you have a data center consuming water, spying on American people. But no, we got to feed the data center and not worry about, people coming to Utah. It's just the absurdity of government.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's the absurdity of government. They wanted so much for that to not be, for some reason they decided they needed to bury most of the building. The majority of that building is underground. So I guess there's the geothermal thing of where they get extra cooling, but like also I think they didn't want people looking at this thing because it really doesn't even look like much when you drive by it. It's mostly hidden by the hillside when you drive by. But anyways, you was that it, Dave, or you got more?
Well, one thought in reaction to what you were saying, actually the biggest difference is the difference between 0 and 1. So if you've got a place where there's no protest going on, that means you're more effective as a protester because you can show up there alone and make the difference between 0 protest and 1 protest.
That is true. There's always that first mover, and then the second mover is also a phenomenon.
Yeah, you got to be the first mover or the second mover.
If you can go out there yourself and then get one more person to join you, and then you have a protest.
Indeed.
One porcupine, one protest, one porcupine.
Got it.
Yep.
Maybe we can get 1,000 porcupines. 1,000 protesters.
Yep. You got anything else, Dave?
That is all.
RidleyReport.com. Check it out.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Dave. What else is in the news? Looks like Marjorie Taylor Greene resigned.
That's right. She did resign, which I don't know. A lot of people are, I guess I've seen a lot of posts on X making a big deal about this, saying, oh, she knows something. She knows something. And I don't know. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. I don't really pay much attention to the politicians themselves.
I don't either.
They're going to say some things.
All of this is WWE, and I haven't tuned in so long.
I know, and it's...
And a lot of the characters have changed, and, like, I don't know. It's hard to keep up.
It's hard to keep up, but it's also hard to come on a show like this one where we should talk about things like this and be excited to talk about things like this, because everyone's going to be, pimping their favorite theories on Marjorie Taylor Greene and what she's up to. So it's like, how do we talk about something we're really not interested in, Stu? How do we promote this whole idea that this is just a crazy show when we're just not interested in caring about the show?
I don't know. Some of it's kind of funny. There's new antics in the Trump, Russia, Zelensky saga. I guess they made a plan to end the war, and it sounds like it's heavily in favor of Russia.
Oh.
Like they get to keep Crimea and some other pretty big deal.
All right.
So, I don't know. It sounds like Zelensky might be pretty upset about that.
He probably would be.
If any of the listeners are a big fan of this WWE stuff, things happening in the news, go ahead and give us a call, 603-283-6160, and let us know.
Let us know why we should be focused on what's happening in the District of Criminals over what's happening in our own backyard or even in our own minds, because I look at this show and I'm like, I just can't care about it. It's so frustrating to care about a show that people want me to obsess over in talk radio.
Sure, but I'll be happy to have a conversation about it if somebody else does care about it.
Sure. Because there's got to be somebody who wants to talk about it, and 603-283-6160 is the number if you want to talk about the show going on in D.C.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this one from the AP. Trump paints Zelensky into a corner with his new plan to end Russia's war on Ukraine. As I said, from the AP.
A reputable news source, as we like to say.
Reputable mouthpiece of the state.
Yeah.
With his new 28-point plan to end Russia's war in Ukraine, President Donald Trump is resurfacing his argument that Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky doesn't have the cards to continue on the battlefield. It must come to a settlement that heavily tilts in Moscow's favor. Doesn't have the cards. Is he using that phrase again? I wonder if it means something esoteric that I'm maybe not picking up on.
Maybe, or
something
maybe
terror related, or
I don't know if it's terror related, but I know this phrase comes up a lot where people say, "Oh, it's not in the cards" or whatever.
You know the standard 52 card playing deck that we use now is based on the tarot.
Yep, I knew that.
Okay.
What's your opinion about tarot? Because I know people like to use it to, foretell the future or whatever. But what's your opinion about tarot? Do you think it's evil?
I need to learn more. I'm fascinated with it.
Yeah, I think so too. But, when things come up in the cards, so to speak, and people put a lot of stock into it. So
yeah, well, yeah, and I think that's the thing, is your ability to use them correctly is probably not easily accessed information.
Yeah.
Right now, though, we have another caller, so we're going to go to the phones. On-screen caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, this is Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Hey, Paul, can you back up your phone just a little bit? It's distorting a little bit.
Also, we are coming up against it. We are coming up against it. So real quick, let us know what you're thinking about, and then we'll hold you over to the other side here.
Oh, okay. So what? You got a break coming up. Okay, yeah, I'll wait.
Yep. Quickly let us know what you're thinking about, though.
Oh, well, what I'm quickly thinking about is I agree with you about we should be more concerned with local things than halfway around the world. However, I do have a couple things to say about the halfway around the world thing, too. So
excellent.
Sounds
Hold
good.
you over.
we'll be back with Paul and find out what he thinks about the WWE world. On the other side of this, coming up, it's Free Talk Live.
Negotiation isn't just something union leaders and sports agents do. Your entire day is a series of negotiations. If you have young children, you know that. In fact, your kids can teach you a lot about negotiating with grown-ups. According to the world's greatest negotiator, Herb Cohen, author of You Can Negotiate Anything. Herb says that kids understand the process of decision-making within an organization. When one parent says no, they'll ask the other. And Cohen says children persist and persevere. And like smart negotiators of all ages, kids know that no is an opening bargaining position. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important, especially if you're a job seeker. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine after a call on Friday with the Ukrainian President. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US, which Ukraine's foreign minister says amounts to the country's capitulation. Ross Cullen reports.
The call between Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelensky comes after widespread anger in Europe at the US-brokered proposal requiring Kyiv to make territorial concessions to Russia, limit the size of its armed forces and stay out of NATO as a basis for an end to the war. Germany says the leaders welcomed the US efforts to end the conflict but argued that the current front lines should be the starting point of any negotiation, and Poland says Ukraine must be part of any such talks. France said all decisions having implications for Europe and NATO require the joint support and consensus of European partners and NATO allies, respectively.
The Kremlin says it hasn't received any information about the peace plan, details of which were leaked by several US news outlets, citing sources close to the Trump administration. Moscow has reiterated it is open to negotiations and suggested Russia's advance along the front line should convince Kyiv to enter peace talks now and reach a settlement. Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
The Kremlin said Russian armed forces' effective offensive on the ground is a way to force Kyiv to a peaceful settlement. Ukrainian President Zelensky should, quote, negotiate and do it now, not later, the Kremlin spokesman urged, alleging his freedom to make decisions is shrinking as he loses territory. The official reiterated Russia remains committed to the discussions that took place in Anchorage in August and that contacts with the United States on Ukraine have not ceased. He also stressed that Russia wants to reach a peaceful settlement and would prefer not to conduct negotiations on what he called loudspeaker mode.
A British politician has been sentenced to 10.5 years in prison for accepting bribes to advance Russian interests while a member of the European Parliament. A London court found Nathan Gill received tens of thousands of dollars to make pro-Russian speeches and advance Moscow's interests in other ways. The UK Security Minister says it's a betrayal of the country. Stuart Smith has more from London.
Nathan Gill was leader of the Welsh branches of political party UKIP and its successor party Reform UK, but he accepted bribes from Russia-aligned sources while an MEP in Brussels in 2018 and 2019 when the UK was still in the European Union. During sentencing, the judge called that a grave betrayal of the electorate's trust. The police say he knew full.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com, a Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at libertyminded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny liberty-oriented clothing at libertyminded.com. That's libertyminded.com. Riley's got his FTL hoodie on tonight.
I do.
It's a bit chilly outside.
Yep, it's a chilly night here in New England, so it's good for a hoodie and maybe a layer or two.
All right. Well, Paul, we were on the phone with Paul, and we're bringing him back now. Paul, what was on your mind?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, it's interesting. The news you just played there was talking about Ukraine. And, many years ago, it was called the Ukraine because it was part of the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And when the Soviet Union broke up, well, before even the Soviet Union broke up, I think it was Stalin who, I guess some of the Ukrainians had done nice things for him, so he said he would give them some sort of independence. So that's kind of where that got started. And then when the Soviet Union broke up, they retained their sovereignty, but there was a large portion of that particular nation that had a lot of people who were Russian, who spoke Russian, and who had a lot of allegiance to Russia. And I believe it was 2014, there was an election where some of these areas that were on the eastern end of Ukraine that were close to Russia had voted to say, hey, why don't we just go ahead and join Russia? And of course, that election was oh no, that's not valid. No, the results are, we don't like those results, so therefore
Ukraine didn't want to honor that
fake election. Yeah, and then I believe if you look this up, the western part of Ukraine was actually bombing the eastern part of Ukraine because they were Russians, and one of the reasons why, one of the justifications that Putin had made for doing his military adventure is that, hey, there's Russian people who speak Russian who would like to be part of Russia were being physically attacked by the Ukrainian government. So, we're here to rescue them, So, I mean, the whole thing's a lot more complicated, and it doesn't really break down to a simple explanation like that, but those are certainly some of the facts. And so the idea that somehow, and without even getting into all of the accusations of corruption by the Zelensky government and religious persecution by the Zelensky government, just the idea that that there were a bunch of people who spoke Russian. I mean, my understanding is that the Ukrainian government says you can't speak Russian anymore. So in schools where the children only speak Russian, the teachers can't speak Russian anymore because it's against the law because, Russia bad, So it's like, some of this is like, fifth grade, stuff. It's like.
And that's a lot of what they feed us.
Can we just have self-determination here?
That's a lot of what they feed us in the news and what they tell us about what's going on. But
it makes it easy for people to break it down and understand it or try to understand it. And it's just propaganda. It's all it is.
Yeah,
it's propaganda.
But your American media is not talking much about what Russia's calls for denazification.
Sure.
And I haven't looked too deeply into that, but I don't know. Are there Nazis in Ukraine?
Aspect of it, because there are people who are in Ukraine who were allied with the Nazis and still have a lot of sympathies in that direction. It's a very complex situation. It doesn't really lend itself to Russia bad, Ukraine good. I'm certainly not carrying water for Putin. I mean, he's an evil monster, but as are all government dictators. But the point is that, if you give people an excuse, and that doesn't help the situation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. You got anything to say about that, Riley?
I just think it's interesting that, being the Ukraine chose to avoid speaking Russian for a while, which is fine. They can speak Ukrainian or whatever they speak over there. But it reminds me of George Orwell's book in 1984, where they seem to change sides on which side they're fighting on all the time. And But they say, oh, we're always at war with Eurasia, or we've been always at war with East Asia, or whatever it is, and we're just supposed to go along with it. And it's just frustrating that people aren't waking up to realize this is crazy.
Yeah, and even that surface level explanation of like Western and Eastern Ukraine being kind of at odds with each other, it demonstrates how silly it is that governments want to draw lines arbitrarily where they think they ought to be, even though the people who live there might draw the line differently. And I get it when one people don't like the people from the next neighborhood over there because, they don't take care of their yards as nicely or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine to have some separation, it's good fences make good neighbors. But if you have these arbitrary fences that are plopped down and then enforced by tanks and guns, it kind of throws a wrench in the spokes. Just my opinion.
Yeah, ideology militates against rational thought for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, you got anything else?
Well, not at the moment, but I'll probably call back tomorrow with something having to do with the income tax.
There may or may not be a show tomorrow.
Actually, I will leave you with this one thing. There's a book that I highly recommend. It's called What's Our Problem? And it's written by Tim Urban, and it's on a website called waitbutwhy.com. And it is probably the most cogent look at human society's problems and how we can understand them in ways that I've never heard, put forth before. And I think that everyone who is interested in finding out how to unsnarl human conflicts would be really well served to read this book, What's Our Problem? A Self-Help Book for Societies by Tim Urban. Okay. And it basically breaks down into two. Everybody, they talk about the political spectrum from left to right, or you talk about the spectrum from totalitarianism to total anarchy. But he gets into how people think. Okay, mm-hmm. What processes are people using to come to these conclusions? And that, to me, is the genius of this book.
Yeah,
and
I like getting at the root of why we think the things that we think.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's really important to understand our psychology and why we think the way we do.
So that was What's Our Problem? Check that book out. We'll put it in the show notes. Thanks for the call tonight, Paul. We have another caller on the line, so we're going to go on screen caller. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, yeah, this is Sarah from New Mexico.
Oh, hi, Sarah.
Yeah, so I'm just really excited. I've been running around again and getting the votes for the UNM and the runoff again.
How fast do you run, Sarah? I'm sorry, that was terrible.
Well,
go ahead.
I talked to about running around. It feels like I talked to about 80 students or whatever.
Yeah.
Where I just come back and I just I'm so beat up thinking about I can't do it anymore. That's when I give it up. I was there for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like work.
It does sound like work.
It is a lot of work because it's always it's always this. Oh, the sub is going to be open Monday through Saturday. And I have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But some people don't understand. You mean December 1st? No, I said 6 days. I have to count Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I guess these people don't vote. They only know 1 day to vote. So, but anyway, what's interesting is that we had the same day voting, same day registration like Colorado and Oregon for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm still talking to students and I'm like, did you know? It's well, I'm from Socorro. I'm from, they're from New Mexico. So I said, we got same day registration. You could vote. We could register. And here I am. I'm giving them the lowdown. So they're like, really? It's but 5 years is pretty new. And it's they're not, and then the students, they're really, really lapping up. It seems like they have the same day registration and same day voting for the young people. Because the older people, they're on record. They've already had prior registered, but they voted before. They keep you on your payroll. No, the roll for about for 5 years. If you vote every 5 years, they keep you on.
Mm-hmm.
So the students are just really going full on with the same day registration, same day voting.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting, and then it's kind of hard to explain. The ID part, you have to have an ID. That's okay. Anything with your face and your name on it, they'll take it. Okay. But this, I couldn't understand paycheck stuff, bank statement, water bill, utility bill, gas bill, electric bill, transcript, student transcript or work, a lease. So it's like a proof of residency. So I always say, can you prove and show that you live here? Can you have a letter with your name and your Albuquerque address? So that's a lot of work to remember all this criteria. And then I got to, talk to each student over and over again. I mean, it's exhausting,
Yeah. Are the students ever rude to you?
You know what? A couple of them, how did you know they were kind of rude to me? Some of them, they're not really rude, but they're kind of rude in the fact that they're like, no, thank you. I'm not interested. I don't know if that's kind of rude. Like they don't believe in voting.
No, that's not rude. Because if you approached me that way, I would tell you that voting is a wasted time and that you should do something more productive. But you might take that as rude, but that's just me saying what's actually true.
Well, yeah, I get that a lot, and I'm perplexed because most of the students, they really want to vote. I mean, I met one guy like, oh no, I was 17 the last time, but I just turned 18 this month. I can't wait to vote in the runoff. Yeah. So when they were having the pick out from the six people, they were like 17 and 1 month short from being 18. It's like, oh, now I'm 18 now, so now I could vote in this election. Now he's going to use the same registration, same day voting.
How many young people do you think are not interested in voting? Could you put a percentage on it?
At the camp, I don't know. Maybe I would say maybe 10%, 1 out of 10 at the college or like that.
Well, that's really good at the college because those are indoctrinated young people.
I know.
Who think that going to college is also a good idea. So they would be more inclined to vote than people who have to think for themselves or like work real jobs.
Well, yeah, that's what I've noticed is that the voting site is at the college, and most of the students do want to vote. Aren't they like? They're known to like camp out at the pond, anti-war protest. They've done a lot of political meetings. You know that guy that got shot. What was his name? The Curtis or whatever that guy. He
Charlie
was
Kirk.
with UNIM. He was there. I did not know that he was on the, and then they brought a lot of controversy. So most of the students are very, very political for some reason.
Because they've been programmed to be like that. They've been told that's what matters and that's what they should care about.
They got to care about the people in D.C. and the people at the top.
Well, you know what?
It's the same reason that they like celebrities and stuff like that, even though celebrities have no impact on your life.
Well, I knew that, talking about Ukraine, I knew that, the universities are accused of the professors being communist. So I actually, when I was out the other day, I saw a red tickle a ham or table, with a real red pictures of it on a table. I was completely shocked because I thought they'd be undercover. I mean, like, we have meetings and discussions, we have debates, and
communism is that's an acceptable ideology in America these days, from what I understand.
Well, I've seen red red signs and club, but not a complete sickle and hammer. And I was like, whoa, this is like, they're not even low keyed anymore. They're just like right out, you know. The university wanted them to join the meeting. It's like, do you guys have meetings once a month? They're like, no, we have more meetings, every week or something right on campus.
That's where these ideas are. That's where these ideas are disseminated from the think tanks who want to spread their ideologies.
It's easy to indoctrinate young adults who are impressionable to different ideologies because they're going out in the world, they're stepping out in the world away from their parents finally, and they get to learn something new, and maybe they're going to be like, oh, I learned this, and this goes against my parents' teaching. I'm going to go against my parents' teaching because I know I'm right, and these people must be right. And so the indoctrination begins at college.
Yeah, and not only that, but they just spent 10,000 hours of the lower school grades learning that the authority is right and your parents aren't. So,
I understand is how did the universities of America become like cesspools of like communist professors and communist meetings? I am just completely perplexed. You know, because I remember that.
I would say look at the funding, and then that's probably your first indicator of who wants to push that idea.
But when I was in Boston, they had like 7 or 8 Communist Party meetings. They had like 8 different Communist parties, and they had meetings all throughout the week, 8 different meetings. But most of them, a lot of them were at the universities. And wasn't Noam Chomsky being accused of being a communist? And so was Howard Zinn also. All of the professors are communists. I'm just I am really baffled because we live in so-called capitalist society.
Yeah, you didn't think you'd ever see communism openly practiced in America?
Right. Yeah, I know. With a red tablecloth with a sickle and hammer on it when giving out materials. And
I'm not all that surprised. They've been bringing this in for a long time. I mean, New Deal was a fully communist implementation, and they just called it something else. They call it progressivism, but it's all communism of different flavors. So I'm not surprised in the least. And honestly, they don't really care which flavor of communism you pick, as long as it's like different from someone else's, so that they can get you arguing about whose flavor of communism is right.
Yeah, but you're right. But what Riley said about is that, you know, when as a kid, they always tell you communism is bad, stay away from it, don't know anything about it. But when you have an opportunity to say, like, you want to learn something about it in a different perspective, you're going to dive right into it, of course.
Yeah.
You know, why was I? Yeah, of course. You know, when you suppress somebody, when you tell them you can't do it, it's illegal, it's bad for you, don't do it. What are you going to do? Turn around and you want to find out more about it.
I don't know,
right?
Sometimes. Like, Riley and I were both raised Mormon. I was told that anything like witchcraft related, even adjacent, even like candles, playing cards, these things were evil, and I was not supposed to look at
My
them.
family didn't go that far.
I didn't jump headfirst into witchcraft when I left Mormonism.
I didn't either.
So, I don't know.
I think it's good to be curious, Sarah, but at the same time, there are certain ideologies, like, in my opinion, communism is centralized authority and therefore evil, because centralized authority and this whole idea that we got to force people to share is generally a bad idea, in my opinion.
I don't know, but the capitalism, where they teach you to think about yourself and your greediness and trample on everybody else, it's okay to, as long as you get ahead and pollute the environment, that's evil too.
I don't see that as capitalism, though. I see that as a pollution of capitalism.
That's, yeah, I don't know what that is. It's fascism, really, because what you have there is, you have people with a whole lot of money and a business agenda write up a bill, and they send it over to their congressman buddy, and then pretty soon it becomes law that this person makes more money than you do, and you better deal with it. And they get they get the full backing of the American government. What are you going to do against that? There's no way you're going to start a competing business. So that's the way, like, to me, that's kind of what fascism is. But it seems like a lot of people have different definitions of that. But even that is just a different flavor of communism. Or rather, we could just even call it human slavery.
Yeah, but Paul was talking about, I did hear that in the eastern Ukraine, there were people that were with Russians, and I was told that the Ukrainians did massacre all of them, and they were, part of Russia, that they were communists, that they wanted it. It was like half of them. And so the Russians are taking retaliatory action, to defend that part of Ukraine, which is part of Russia. So
that is that is part of it, but it's also like if you're Russia and you're watching NATO expand right up to your border, and Ukraine's like the last domino to fall, it's time for you to do something about it, I guess. If you want to look at the geopolitical strategy and think that it's all valid.
Yeah, but I have one thing about the universities. They do tolerate they're very, very political since the 1925s. It wasn't just the college women that were working on the women's suffrage. I was told that it was the educated women that wanted to fight for the women to right to vote. And they were having clubs in colleges, and this was back in the 1920s. So I don't know how that is true, but yeah. So the colleges are, places for social justice and political movements. And even during the 1960s, the anti-war protests were at the colleges, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those things are, and thanks for the call tonight, Sarah. A lot of times those things start at the colleges because they come from intelligence agencies or think tanks or roundtable groups. If you don't know what those are, look into it.
Yeah.
We all know what intelligence agencies are.
Like the CIA or
not
the
everybody
FBI.
knows that sometimes they fund places like Harvard or MIT to come up to, I don't know, let's say weaponize robot dogs, for example. But they also pay them to do things like counterculture revolutions.
Yeah.
So, in fact, the 60s hippie counterculture revolution was largely a creation of, I hope I don't get this one wrong, but that was Tavistock that made that one.
It sounds familiar, but don't quote me, and I'm not going to quote you, but, let's look into it during the break, perhaps.
There's lots of goodies down that rabbit hole, like Jim Morrison's dad started Vietnam.
Uh-huh.
And, anyways, rabbit holes are fun. You should always come back out of them, though, unless you're actually a rabbit.
Yes, and I'm not a rabbit, so, I'm going to come out of the rabbit hole and hopefully ground myself into something and ground myself in reality, but,
Yep. So
I am a libertarian, so maybe my views on reality might be skewed. You never know.
Yeah.
I would tend to think they're not, because I believe that liberty is the best path for everyone to follow.
Yeah, it seems to be much better than statism or human slavery or forcing each other. It's that's not a very nice way. Give us a call. Let us know what you think. 603-283-6160. I was surprised to hear Sarah say that maybe 10% of the kids she encounters at the campus aren't interested in voting at all.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
It is encouraging for sure.
I don't know. What do you think? Is voting valid? Give us a call. It's Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Hey guys.
Hi, Cheryl.
I kind of stumbled onto you. I drive home from work on a Saturday night and heard you guys the first couple times I heard you, and I thought, what obnoxious jerks have they got on the radio?
You sound like my wife.
Yeah, and I grew up very conservative, grew up in Kansas, moved to Florida, but you guys have really opened my mind.
Well, now, wait a minute. You opened your mind. We just gave you a few
I don't know.
tips.
Like I said, it was more of a car wreck. I couldn't turn away.
Really?
I had to listen to you because I'm like, I cannot believe what these guys are saying. And, so I was a little, I'm 43. My daughter's 24. She'll be 25 this year. And, it was kind of the stuff that was coming out of her mouth that I just took as kind of just a crazy youth thing. But you guys have absolutely opened my mind.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern at freetalklive.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine after a call on Friday with the Ukrainian President. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US, which Ukraine's foreign minister says amounts to the country's capitulation. Ross Cullen reports.
The call between Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelensky comes after widespread anger in Europe at the US-brokered proposal requiring Kyiv to make territorial concessions to Russia, limit the size of its armed forces and stay out of NATO as a basis for an end to the war. Germany says the leaders welcomed the US efforts to end the conflict but argued that the current front lines should be the starting point of any negotiation, and Poland says Ukraine must be part of any such talks. France said all decisions having implications for Europe and NATO require the joint support and consensus of European partners and NATO allies, respectively.
The Kremlin says it hasn't received any information about the peace plan. Moscow has reiterated it is open to negotiations and suggested Russia's advance along the front line should convince Kyiv to enter peace talks now and reach a settlement. Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
The Kremlin said Russian armed forces' effective offensive on the ground is a way to force Kyiv to a peaceful settlement. Ukrainian President Zelensky should, quote, negotiate and do it now, not later, the Kremlin spokesman urged, alleging his freedom to make decisions is shrinking as he loses territory. The official reiterated Russia remains committed to the discussions that took place in Anchorage in August and that contacts with the United States on Ukraine have not ceased. He also stressed that Russia wants to reach a peaceful settlement and would prefer not to conduct negotiations on what he called loudspeaker mode.
A British politician has been sentenced to 10.5 years in prison for accepting bribes to advance Russian interests while a member of the European Parliament. A London court found Nathan Gill received tens of thousands of dollars to make pro-Russian speeches and advance Moscow's interests in other ways. The UK Security Minister says it's a betrayal of the country. Stuart Smith has more from London.
Nathan Gill was leader of the Welsh branches of political party UKIP and its successor party Reform UK, but he accepted bribes from Russia-aligned sources while an MEP in Brussels in 2018 and 2019 when the UK was still in the European Union. During sentencing, the judge called that a grave betrayal of the electorate's trust. The police say he knew full well what he was doing and who he was doing it for. It's continuing to investigate whether others were involved.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at this week's failure of Cloudflare that brought more chaos to a range of internet activities and popular apps. The chances are you've never heard of Cloudflare because it generally sits in the background of your internet activities, acting on behalf of clients like Elon Musk's X, Zoom, Spotify, and millions of other sites to prevent denial of service attacks that could bring those services to a crashing halt. But on Tuesday, Cloudflare itself found its service failing in what the company called a significant outage after a configuration file designed to handle threatening traffic failed to do what it was supposed to do. Professor Alan Woodward is a security expert at the Surrey Centre for Cybersecurity.
The irony is quite large here. Their network is so important to all these other companies that there should be no single point of failure, but somehow looks like something's gone wrong internally. Their network just shouldn't have a single point of failure. So even if there's like an equipment failure, it should fail over to another piece of equipment. And you know, the users shouldn't notice the difference.
Millions of websites were put at risk by the Cloudflare failure, which took about 3 hours to resolve. And like an outage at Amazon Web Services last month, it again revealed just how vulnerable the internet remains to technical failures, but also to potential attacks. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US. The Kremlin, meanwhile, says it has not received any information on the peace plan for Ukraine, although Moscow's reiterated it is open to negotiations. And a British politician has been sentenced.
According to a study released Thursday by the Princeton University Department of Biology, this local 2-year-old woodland chipmunk has crafted a far more secure and dependable plan for the future than 8 out of 10 Americans. Reporters spoke to citizens to get their view on the study.
Clearly, this chipmunk is pretty impressive. I mean, he wakes up every morning and says, I need to collect acorns and berries for the winter. He sets goals for himself and he gets it done.
He has to make a burrow in a tree stump. That's exactly what he does. He doesn't pause and have a snack and lay around for a few hours.
Out of nearly 40 separate interviews with Americans, 33 told reporters they were very impressed by the chipmunk's continued display of foresight, personal responsibility, and pragmatic decision-making when considering his own future.
He's preparing for winter, he's building a home, and he's trying to get enough nutrients to make it throughout the rest of the day. All this while being worried about maybe getting eaten by a wolf or an owl or something. Earlier this week, the electricity went off in my home because I forgot to pay my bill. It's the second time this year.
This is the Onion News Network.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, talk radio you control. Give us a call and let us know what's on your mind tonight. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. social.freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Aurelio Bill.
Are you fired up tonight, Aurelio Bill?
Well, I'm working on it, but, you know, the firing up comes when I realize the government is nothing more than a terrorist organization pretending to be a service provider, and that fires me up because a lot of people seem to think that these people with titles have the ability to tell you how to live. They believe that they have the right to tell you what to do with your life, liberty, and property because they have magic titles next to them. But in reality, they're just people with magic titles. That's all they are, so, you know.
Yeah, I think I get a little more fired up about people just taking it.
Yeah, that can fire me up, too. Like, people just taking it however the government gives it to them, and they're just like, oh, it's okay, it's government. Have some.
No matter how many times your sandcastle gets kicked over, you just continue rebuilding it instead of getting mad at the same guy who keeps coming kicking it over.
Yeah.
You're just not going to stop him.
Yep.
Right now we've got a caller on the lines, and that's the point of this show, so let's go to the phones. On-screen caller, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Are the board of directors on a corporate board a bunch of terrorists? Are the board of directors in an HOA a bunch of terrorists? No.
They certainly act like it.
They
certainly act like a bunch of control freaks.
Earned. No, yeah. And it's
control
all
freaks. That's what they are, dude.
It's all part of no, they're not. They're representatives.
They don't represent me. I represent myself. Thank you very much.
I mean, they're not complete. They're not entirely control freaks. Not all of them. Certainly, some of them are going to tend to be. But some people got on the board as a counterbalance against those petty tyrants.
And they all had to be elected, right? Am I right?
I think so. I don't know.
Am I right?
I've never been part of one.
I've never been part of an HOA, so I couldn't tell you.
You are welcome to the HOA of America.
It's not an HOA, but okay.
This is an They're both run through a mixed republic, right? Some parts private, some parts for public. They pool funds through fees to fund their common areas like roads. You remember those? Let me read you a quote from one of your leading theorists, Hans Hermann Hoppe, the very idiot who discovered argumentation ethics, which is the dumbest argument I ever heard. Let me read you this, right? The newborn has no homestead right to the streets, parks, or lakes. Those are owned by the Covenant Association. The child is there only because the parents have a contractual right to bring guests, including their own children. Break the contract. The invitation is revoked for the whole family. So that includes breaking the laws of the HOA. Riley, if the HOA, or my mom, if my mom doesn't want me to do drugs in the house, I can't say I'm a slave. Right? I have to follow her rules, even though I didn't sign a contract.
You are on her property, so you do have to follow her rules. The United States is not property, though. It's not property owned by a private institution. There's a difference there.
It's owned by the citizenry.
What is a citizen?
And it's partially run, the public sector is partially run through the representatives they elect. Just like a corporation, just like an HOA. You're already free. You know what the dumbest idea that democracy has ever indoctrinated us with? It's this stupid idea of freedom and natural rights. Those are the stupidest ideas. They don't even make sense, just like now. You're already free. I've already proven you guys don't want freedom.
Wait,
you guys refuse to leave.
Wait, you're saying freedom is a stupid idea, but we're already free.
What's that?
You're saying freedom is a stupid idea, but we're already free.
Yeah, that's what's stupid about it. Well, the people who think they're not free, the people that argue for liberty and don't realize you're already free and complaining about the rules. See, here's what you guys don't understand about logic and liberty that don't make sense, right? The thing that trumps self-ownership is land ownership. I've said this before, right? You have to own the land you're on before you can choose what to do with yourself. Otherwise, you're subject to the rules of the owner. And that owner can be a large group of people, Riley.
Why do you believe that?
By that logic,
of the U.S.
By that logic, you're born a slave. Because you don't own the property you're born onto. And so you're subject to the rules.
If I'm born on your property, am I a slave because I have to follow your rules?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
By that logic? What's the answer? Yes or no?
Yeah. I mean, isn't that...
Yeah. Does that make me a slave?
Kind of, yeah.
No! A slave is when you own the property and you are forced into, servitude.
Yeah, forced into servitude, meaning you have to follow the rules of someone else.
So you guys are just expanding. You just love this victimhood narrative, you guys.
No.
You guys will stretch logic just to prove you're a victim when you're not.
No, I borderline agree with you on this point, Skeeter. Freedom is a state of mind.
No, it's not.
It is.
It first comes with full land ownership. You have to acquire land outside of this. You have to buy it from the United States or acquire it somehow. There's no more land to homestead. Zero. You got to deal with that fact. So everybody's born into some type of large community that has their own rules.
You don't see how that's a stacked game?
What's that?
You don't see how that's a stacked game?
That's just well, you guys, your logic sets your. This is the logical rules of liberty. So here's what libertarians are missing in their logic, right? When you guys reject like a Lockean proviso, like you guys reject positive right to land. That's what you need in order to claim you're a victim. You guys need to adopt some type of natural positive right when you're born to some land. And who's going to give that to you in a land that's fully occupied already? How are you going to work that? How are you going to make that feasible in the real world? Who's going to give that? Who's obligated to give you that already?
I don't know if you've ever like flown over the country or driven through it, but there's a lot of unoccupied land.
There is.
No, that just because someone's not on it. My backyard, my mom's backyard right now is not occupied by anyone. That doesn't mean you can go there, right?
No, that's occupied.
It's already part of the United States. It's defended with national defense.
It's clearly defined.
What is the United States?
I know when I've crossed the line into your mom's backyard, so that's that's not the same thing. You don't know when you've crossed the line from.
You don't know what part of the United States is
this sagebrush bush to the next. There's no line in between this cactus and the other.
It's all within the geographical borders of the United States. You know it's part of the United States. You know it's part of a state first. It's part of a city probably. It's part of a state.
The deal with federal ownership of land was supposed to be only necessity for like military bases and whatever, and now and now they own
you don't rule
75% of the West.
Constitutional or not? Okay, if something's not constitutional, take it up with the Supreme Court. Right? You're not the one to make. You can't make judgments.
The Constitution was a horrible contract in the first place.
Then leave. Go fight.
All right, I'll take you up on your offer. Pay me.
Constitution.
Pay me right now, and I will leave.
Deal.
You really want to pay for me to exit America?
Yes, I'll pay for both.
Great.
You guys aren't.
Bring me the money right now.
To the country of my choice.
I will. I'll give it to Rich. Neither of you are worth over $2 million, right? I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay your capital gains. I'll pay your filing fees.
I can't claim assets of greater than $2 million. No.
Okay, either that or you're hiding it, like Roger Ver.
Nope.
But okay, I'll pay for both of you.
Great.
Let's.
And I got to go to the country of my choice.
Yes.
And
no, wait, no.
No, I got to go to the country of my choice. You're the one making the deal.
Well, it's not unreasonable. I don't want to go to Dubai.
Yeah.
But we might work something out if you want to pay to relocate me to Portugal.
No, I'm not gonna pay. I'm not gonna fully pay your relocation fees. That's just nature. That's
you said you would pay to get me out. That's what it entails.
Your filing fees. I'll also pay for your plane ticket. How about that? Let's make it a whole show. I'm serious.
No, you gotta pay.
You gotta go all the way, man. Otherwise, I just think you're wasting my time.
You gotta pay all the citizen application fees, all the exit fees.
Great, go all the way. We have you on record as saying you're going all the way.
I'll go all the way.
Okay.
I'll pay for your filing fees, a plane ticket, and what else do you? What's the essentials you need to
just whatever the administration needs on side A and side B plus travel.
Wait. Don't you also need to be logically consistent? If you guys,
I need $50,000.
Hold on, yeah. If you guys are truly anarchists, right? You guys need a seastead. You can't go to another collective and agree to the rules, or you're just going to voluntary slavery.
No, you've been saying this whole time that I can just go to a different collective that has rules that I like better.
Well, then you can't complain about the rules once you go, right?
Sure, I can actually.
I can still complain about them while being compliant to them.
No, I mean, you can't complain about being a slave when you're obviously
I can.
Explicit voluntary choice, right? This is explicit voluntary choice, just like entering an HOA.
No, I would be
all naturalized citizens have to agree coming into the United States and sign a naturalization contract, right? Newborns are given the benefit of the doubt, which you guys abuse. And you guys claim it's slavery when it's a privilege. Okay, so let's do it. So who do you want me to pay? And how do I know you're going to go through it? I'll go borrow from my mom. I helped her out with her investments. She'll loan me the money.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
are you guys BSing me, or let's do this? Let's make it a show.
Send me some Dash and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Well,
I'll send Rich some ETH. I'll send Rich 5,000 each, which covers the filing fees. And if you don't leave, what do I get?
Nothing.
What do I get for you breaking the contract? Are you guys gonna?
This is not a deal I can make on the spot.
Yeah.
So I can look into it.
Wait! Wait! We're hashing it out. You seemed agreeable, or were you just all talk?
No, it's something I'm entertaining the notion of seriously. But there are a lot of details in a thing like that.
They don't want freedom. Let me talk to your listeners real quick. These guys don't want freedom. They want to force everybody to agree with them. So they get free roads. They get free national defense. They don't want to pay taxes. They just want free public goods.
Freedom in the way that you talk about it, Skeeter, is basically unattainable. You can't have it because no matter what, there's always going to be something there inhibiting your freedom.
You can take land from another collective.
What?
Establish your own rules and provide your own national defense that fends people off. Fends other countries off.
Freedom comes through theft.
That's how the United States did it. They contracted with other governments to get independence from Britain.
Yeah,
they needed help from France and Spain. They couldn't do it alone. How are you guys going to do it?
I don't know how much I believe the official story on how America was started anyways.
Come on, man. Stop with this nonsense, man. You guys are getting exposed here.
If you look into the ideas that came out of these small groups in Europe at the time, it looks like it was kind of just set up as a game anyways. Like they were never really serious about letting people have true independent freedom. Or I don't know. So that's the thing. Freedom in that aspect is unattainable because there's the coercion of nature. There's the coercion of we all have a lifespan that we can't escape. Like the nature is going to coerce you in one way or another anyways.
It's completely attainable. The problem is a good life and freedom attainable? You can seastead right at this moment. I'll pay for your filing fees. I'll pay for a rubber raft from Home Depot so you can float out in the high seas and be free.
You can't seastead on a rubber raft.
Very attainable. That is very attainable, right? You can claim statelessness so you don't have protection from any country. You have to float out there without a flag of any nation protecting you. So you're vulnerable to pirates. You're vulnerable for even a nation taking you over. That's what freedom entails. You don't want it. It's completely attainable. It costs $2,350 for the filing fee, and maybe like $50 for a raft. The air is free from the hot air you guys keep.
How is that freedom?
Putting on the air with your liberty nonsense. You don't want liberty.
Freedom from what?
You guys don't want liberty.
Are you saying that makes me free from everything, Skeeter? If I go out into the ocean on a rubber raft, now I'm free from everything? All forms of coercion.
Freedom doesn't mean you have automatic national defense from everybody.
Freedom is the absence of coercion.
No.
Define it then.
That's part of
Define
the
the word.
Right?
Define the word.
You have
define the word, Skeeter.
You have to fend off coercion.
Skeeter.
You have to fend off coercion.
We can't have any kind of discussion here if we're using the same word in a different way. So tell me what freedom is.
Freedom is the opportunity to make your own decisions with your property.
What? No, that doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense at all.
I can't agree on that as a definition. It's simply freedom from coercion.
No, it's
because it's dependent on the idea of property ownership.
Mine's more precise, right? It's the freedom to make choices with your property, right?
You just changed it.
You don't own
before you said it was the opportunity to.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because Skeeter's kind of scatterbrained. Maybe you should get your thoughts together a little
yeah.
better before you call us, so you don't sound like such a moron. Thanks for the call tonight, Skeeter. All right.
Stu 1, Skeeter 0.
What do you want to talk about next? We started this story and we got one paragraph in before we got a caller.
Yeah. Let's go back to the story unless you have something else to comment on Skeeter's ramblings tonight.
Skeeter's ramblings. I don't know. Bottom takeaway is like just define the way you're using the word. And if you come up with a convoluted definition like that, then it's probably not going to stick. Because then I'm going to have to reference back, like he's using this word now and he's not using it in the way that most people use it. And I got to think about what is Skeeter's personal definition of this word, and it just makes conversation too hard.
Yeah. It just seems like he doesn't listen to anything we say, so. But whatever.
Okay. So we were into this AP article about Trump and Zelensky and Ukraine and Russia. Trump is now saying again that Zelensky doesn't have the cards to continue on the battlefield. Trump, who has demonstrated low regard for Zelensky dating back to his first term, says he expects the Ukraine leader to respond to his administration's new plan to end the war by next Thursday. That's fast.
It is, and I don't think it's going to happen that quickly either.
The president said Friday of Zelensky, he's going to have to approve it, though he was more reconciliatory a day later, saying, I would like to get peace. We're trying to get it ended, one way or the other. We have to get it ended, Trump told reporters outside the White House on Saturday. Buffeted by a corruption scandal in his government, battlefield setbacks, and another difficult winter looming as Russia continues to bombard Ukraine's energy grid, Zelensky says Ukraine is now facing perhaps the most difficult choice of its history. Zelensky has not spoken with Trump since the plan became public this week, but has said he expects to talk to the Republican president in coming days. It's likely to be another in a series of tough conversations the two leaders have had over the years. The first time they spoke in 2019, Trump tried to pressure the then newly minted Ukrainian leader to dig up dirt on Joe Biden ahead of the 2020 election. That phone call sparked Trump's first impeachment. Trump made Biden's support for Ukraine a central issue in his successful 2024 campaign, saying the conflict had cost U.S. taxpayers too much money and vowing he would quickly bring the war to an end. Seems like he kind of left that on the back burner.
Yep.
Then early this year, in a disastrous Oval Office meeting, Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance tore into Zelensky for what they said was insufficient gratitude for the more than $180 billion the U.S. had appropriated for military aid and other assistance to Kiev since the start of the war. That episode led to a temporary suspension of U.S. assistance to Ukraine. And now with the new proposal, Trump is pressing Zelensky to agree to concessions of land to Moscow, a massive reduction in the size of Ukraine's army, and agreement from Europe to assert that Ukraine will never be admitted into the NATO military alliance. Now Ukraine may find itself facing a very difficult choice, either loss of dignity or the risk of losing a key partner, Zelensky said in a video address Friday. At the center of Trump's plan is the call on Ukraine to concede the entirety of its eastern Donbass region, even though a vast swath of that land remains in Ukrainian control. Analysts at the Independent Institute for the Study of War have estimated it would take several years for the Russian military to completely seize the territory based on its current rate of advances. Trump, nevertheless, insists that the loss of the region, which includes cities that are vital defense, industrial, and logistics hubs for Ukrainian forces, is a fait accompli. They will lose in a short period of time, so Trump said Friday when asked during a Fox News radio interview about his push on Ukraine to give up the territory. They're losing land. They're losing land. The Trump proposal was formally presented to Zelensky in Kiev on Thursday by Dan Driscoll, the U.S. Army Secretary. The plan itself was a surprise to Driscoll's staffers, who were not aware as late as Wednesday that their boss would be going to Ukraine as part of a team to present the plan to the Ukrainians. Army officials walked away from that meeting with the impression that the Ukrainians were viewing the proposal as a starting point that would evolve as negotiations progressed, according to the U.S. official who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive talks. It's unclear how much patience Trump has for further negotiations. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said Thursday that Trump's new plan affects the realities of the situation and offers the best win scenario, where both parties gain more than they must give. What do you think about this new deal Trump has made with Russia, Ukraine?
I think it's going to fall through like every other deal he's made.
This kind of seems the trend.
Yeah.
Give us a call, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine after a call on Friday with the Ukrainian president. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US, which Ukraine's foreign minister says amounts to the country's capitulation. Ross Cullen reports.
The call between Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelensky comes after widespread anger in Europe at the US-brokered proposal requiring Kyiv to make territorial concessions to Russia, limit the size of its armed forces and stay out of NATO as a basis for an end to the war. Germany says the leaders welcomed the US efforts to end the conflict but argued that the current front lines should be the starting point of any negotiation, and Poland says Ukraine must be part of any such talks. France said all decisions having implications for Europe and NATO require the joint support and consensus of European partners and NATO allies respectively.
The Kremlin says it hasn't received any information about the peace plan, details of which were leaked by several US news outlets, citing sources close to the Trump administration. Moscow has reiterated it is open to negotiations and suggested Russia's advance along the front line should convince Kyiv to enter peace talks now and reach a settlement. Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
The Kremlin said Russian armed forces' effective offensive on the ground is a way to force Kyiv to a peaceful settlement. Ukrainian President Zelensky should, quote, negotiate and do it now, not later, the Kremlin spokesman urged, alleging his freedom to make decisions is shrinking as he loses territory. The official reiterated Russia remains committed to the discussions that took place in Anchorage in August and that contacts with the United States on Ukraine have not ceased. He also stressed that Russia wants to reach a peaceful settlement and would prefer not to conduct negotiations on what he called loudspeaker mode.
A British politician has been sentenced to 10.5 years in prison for accepting bribes to advance Russian interests while a member of the European Parliament. A London court found Nathan Gill received tens of thousands of dollars to make pro-Russian speeches and advance Moscow's interests in other ways. The UK Security Minister says it's a betrayal of the country. Stuart Smith has more from London.
Nathan Gill was leader of the Welsh branches of political party UKIP and its successor party Reform UK, but he accepted bribes from Russia-aligned sources while an MEP in Brussels in 2018 and 2019 when the UK was still in the European Union. During sentencing, the judge called that a grave betrayal of the electorate's trust. The police say he knew full.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can call and get your thoughts and ideas on the air. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. I'd like to thank Justin for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Justin went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks again to Justin and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Riley O'Bill.
Riley O'Bill. We were talking about Trump and the Russia-Ukraine stuff.
We're just spinning a zone here, talking about all this crazy stuff going on in the world and trying to promote the ideas of liberty as we do so, saying that, this is a horrible idea of Trump pretending to want peace in Ukraine. I think he's just trying to virtue signal and show how good he is as a person, but I don't think it's going to work out. Sorry, man.
Yeah, and it seems like if he was serious about that, he probably would just cut off money to Ukraine, from the start.
Yeah.
Instead of cutting it off after he got mad at Zelensky like it was some personal thing. I don't think he cares much at all for peace. Trump still it seems to hold true with that guy that he cares more about being, popular than he does about anything else. Let's continue this article though. Asked about Zelensky's initial hesitant response to the proposal, Trump recalled the February Oval Office blow-up with Zelensky. You remember, right in the Oval Office, not so long ago, I said, you don't have the cards. Trump, though, was also asked Saturday if the proposal was his final offer to end the Ukraine war and said it wasn't, leaving open the possibility of more negotiation. Womp womp.
Yep.
Still asked what would happen if Ukraine and Zelensky ultimately rejected the proposal. The president turned almost dismissive. Then he can continue to fight his little heart out. The mounting pressure from Trump comes as Zelensky is dealing with the fallout of over $100 million in kickbacks for contracts with the state-owned nuclear energy company. The scandal led to the resignations of top cabinet ministers that implicated other Zelensky associates. Trouble on the home front.
Indeed.
Konstantin Sonin, a political economist and Russia expert at the University of Chicago, said what Donald Trump is certainly extremely good at is spotting weak spots of people. Well, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, he is a businessman and a very professional one at that.
I don't know what professionalism even is. One of the 28 elements of Trump's proposal calls for elections to be held within 100 days of enactment of the agreement. I think it's a rationalistic assessment that there is more leverage over Zelensky than over Putin, Sonin said. He added, Zelensky's back is against the wall, and his government could collapse if he agrees to the U.S. proposal. All the while, Ukraine is increasingly showing signs of strain on the battlefield after years of war against a vastly larger and better equipped Russian military. Ukraine is desperately trying to fend off relentless Russian aerial attacks that have brought rolling blackouts across the country on the brink of winter. Kiev is also grappling with doubts about the way ahead. A European plan to finance next year's budget for Ukraine through loans linked to frozen Russia funds is now in question. The Trump proposal, in its current form, also includes several elements that would cut deeply into Ukrainian pride, said Dave Silby, a military historian at Cornell University. One provision calls on Russia and Ukraine to abolish all discriminatory measures and guarantee the rights of Ukrainian and Russian media and education. And all Nazi ideology and activities must be rejected and prohibited. That element could be seen by the Ukrainian side as giving credence to Putin's airing of distorted historical narratives to legitimize the 2022 invasion. Alright, so there's some distorted historical narratives that Putin is airing. So it sounds like the West is saying there are no Nazis in Ukraine. And Putin is saying, no, there are definitely Nazis there. Didn't I see pictures of the Azov battalion with swastikas and, like, I don't know, goose-stepping and wearing Hugo Boss? And
I don't know. I didn't see those pictures, but then again, I'm blind, so I didn't see any pictures. However, I've heard about them. I just don't know if they're true or not. I have no way of knowing, and I wish I did.
Okay. Well, it seems like, I don't know, they changed that real quick, because that was, that stuff didn't stay around long.
Yeah.
Putin has said the war is in part an effort to denazify Ukraine and complain of the country's neo-Nazi regime as a justification for Russia's invasion. In fact, in Ukraine's last parliamentary election in 2019, support for far-right candidates was 2%, significantly lower than in many other European countries. Who says that Nazism is far-right anyways? I don't know. Is that where they place Nazism? Is on the far right? Because that's nationalist socialism, which to me says left.
It seems interesting to me that they place it on the right, although some leftists would say that Nazism is far right because, you know, the Nazis were against communists, and, well, you know, the communists and socialists are all wings of the same stupid bird, so there's that. I just don't know what to think about it. I think Nazism, whatever it is, it's an evil ideology. I don't know whether it's far right, far left. I know socialism is left. I know being far right, who knows? It seems like when people define their terms these days, they want to define them in such a way that makes sense for them, and it gets confusing.
Well, I think that's the point, though. That's why they do things like say that Nazism is far right, when it's because I guess, I don't know, the nationalist part is considered on the right of the spectrum, but the socialist part is definitely on the left, so
yeah,
they just put it on the right anyways. But nobody really thinks about these things. If you thought about it deeply enough, the whole left-right spectrum doesn't even make sense. It should be more like because what they have that drawn as like tyranny to anarchy, but then they say, like, I don't know, the whole thing is full of contradictions, and you start trying to get your head around the way they explain it, and it gets very confusing.
Yeah.
When the way it actually works is really quite simple. Anyway, back to the article. The plan's provision is very clearly an attempt to build up Putin's claim to Russian cultural identity with Ukraine, Silby said. He added, from territory loss to the substantial reduction of the Ukrainian military to cultural concessions that have been demanded, I just don't think Zelensky could do this deal and look his public in the eye again. Yeah. Well, Zelensky's an actor and has no business running a country anyways.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty commonly known. But I mean, you could say the same about Donald Trump, right?
Oh, for sure. He's an actor himself and has no business running a country, so it's just a show, folks. It's all just a show, and we're all being dragged into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was the end of that article.
Yep.
Sounds like either that's the end of Zelensky, or they gotta, or this deal won't stick.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few days, whether Zelensky's going to back out or Trump's going to renege. I think it's more likely that Trump's going to throw up his hands in frustration and be like, I'm done with this deal. It's not going the way I want it. So, who knows?
Who knows indeed.
Trump has been negotiating deals all year that seem to just fail. Like the Middle East deal. Failed.
Oh, that didn't even... Oh, yeah, the Gaza thing?
Yeah.
There were bombs going off the day he signed it, and the next day, and the day after, and none of that ever stopped. And he's like, oh, look how successful this deal was that I made.
I know. It's just Trump is such a storyteller, and people keep falling for his stuff every single day. But it seems like more and more of the right are waking up or refusing to listen to Trump anymore. So it's interesting.
Well, yeah, he can only go back on so many things he said so many times before he loses all credibility. And I guess that's kind of what the Marjorie Taylor Greene stuff is about, is the Trump base splitting, because she's MAGA, right? As far as I understand it.
I think she is. I think she's definitely, at one point, was a Trump supporter, but now, I don't know. I don't think she is.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like they got into a bit of a fight.
Yeah.
Let's read this one from the BBC about it.
Reputable source.
Yeah. BBC. I probably would not call them reputable. They have a reputation.
They do have a reputation.
So maybe they are reputable.
I think in a lot of ways the BBC used to be really good, but then they skewed a lot more leftist.
Yeah, their reputation with me is not good.
Okay.
Trump ally Marjorie Taylor Greene to quit Congress after Epstein files feud. Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced she will resign from office, an unexpected turn from the high-profile Republican. One of Donald Trump's MAGA superstars and staunchest defenders, the Georgia Congresswoman's relentless calls for releasing files related to the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and recent criticism of some of his policies led to a bitter public feud. After the U.S. president labeled her a traitor, she said in a video announcing her departure, "I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better." Trump, who had threatened to support a Republican challenger to unseat Greene, called her resignation great news for the country in an interview with ABC News. For some reason, primarily that I refused to return her never-ending barrage of phone calls, Marjorie went bad, he later wrote on Truth Social. Trump says she quit because Trump wouldn't return her phone calls. Nevertheless, I will always appreciate Marjorie and thank her for her service to our country. Greene said in her video statement posted on social media that she would leave the U.S. Congress on the 5th of January 2026. She said that she did not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms. This is very WWE.
It is.
She had been one of the loudest demanding the release of documents related to Epstein, an issue that once united Trump and his base but has since become divisive. Trump had spent months arguing that the issue was a distraction concocted by his political detractors to divert attention from his administration's achievements. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14, trafficked, and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for, Greene said in her resignation letter. Over the last few months, she has gone on a number of high-profile news shows and was critical of Trump and fellow Republicans. She took issue with the president not doing enough to bring down living costs for voters and criticized his policy of introducing tariffs on imports. But above all, she criticized his administration for not releasing documents related to Epstein. Trump responded last week in a series of social media posts calling Greene a traitor and wacky. He said she should be unseated and vowed to back a challenger challenger for her place in Congress. Days after their feud boiled over, with a growing number of Republicans calling for their release, Trump reversed course and said he would support their publication. He signed a bill this week that forces the U.S. Justice Department to release the documents within 30 days. Green was elected to Congress in 2020 amid a backdrop of headlines over her support and promotion of QAnon conspiracies, including claiming school shootings and the 9/11 terror attacks were staged. She has since apologized and sought to distance herself from those comments. Were staged. QAnon's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I agree with you there. QAnon is definitely a bunch of crap, but 9/11 being staged?
What do you mean staged? Like, definitely buildings fell down.
Definitely. I don't know what you mean by staged.
There is some evidence to say that those weren't planes that hit the buildings.
Sure.
I don't know if there's enough there to convince me, but there's something to look at there.
Was 9/11 an inside job? I would say it was.
School shootings have contradictory. So the problem with the school shootings things is that what's reported right away ends up like not ever being talked about again, and this official story being it's totally different.
Yeah.
So maybe they are staged. I'm not sure. In the video announcing her resignation, Green ticked off a list of political achievements. She noted in her resignation letter that the comments from Trump were hurtful. While she announced her departure from the House of Representatives, U.S. media reports have indicated Green has shown an interest in running for state office, either as Georgia governor or for a Senate seat. The president has commented publicly about those ambitions, writing on Truth Social during their public feud that he had previously told her that she shouldn't run for either of those offices due to poor public polling. Green has since said she did not plan to run for either of those offices. Before their public falling out, Trump and Green had been close allies in championing the America First agenda. Is that synonymous with Make America Great Again?
Yes.
And America First, because Make America Great Again seemed like maybe something else that wasn't America First.
I think it's all the same. I think they're all synonymous because making America great in their mind is also America First, because America was the greatest nation on earth and now is no longer, and in their mind because of leftist policies. I don't know if there was a time, in my opinion, I don't know if there was a time in history where America was the greatest country. And so I can't simply say that America is going to be the greatest country if we get rid of leftist policies. I can say that I believe that America can be a great country if we move toward liberty and, the ability for people to make their own choices more without government oversight. So, I don't know. It seems like people who tout America first, what is America? How are they defining it? That's what I wonder.
So, I guess, I don't know, Trump's going to release the Epstein stuff now. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep.
So, but she resigned basically over that. Like, she got into a big fight with him over that stuff, and then she ended up resigning. He's like, oh, guess what? I'm going to release it anyways.
Yeah. I don't know. Trump has been fighting the release of the Epstein files for a long time.
Well, yeah, because that's a lot of work to go through all that and take his name out of anywhere that it makes him look really bad.
Yeah,
which is
but
probably
now
a lot of places.
Now he's all gung-ho about signing it and getting them all released, and so who knows what's going to be in there. They finally redact them enough so that Trump isn't in there?
Well, so I've heard that this bill says they're going to release all the unclassified information involved.
Oh.
So all they have to do is go through and classify a bunch of it secret, or classify at whatever level of secret they want, and then they don't have to release those parts.
Exactly.
Which is what I imagine people are going to get.
Yep.
Because, Epstein who?
Exactly.
Yeah. The real reason this is important and Mr. Penguin, co-host, doesn't seem to agree. This story just bores the heck out of him. But the reason this is important is that it's not only about the sex trafficking and all of that stuff. It is that stuff, but that's only part of it. It's what he was involved in, Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, was an intelligence-led spy ring that was mostly centered on blackmail information. So the way that works is they get dirt on somebody and they say, hey, we're going to make you rich and famous if you play the part we want you to, but if you step out of line, we got this dirt on you and we're going to ruin your life. And he was kind of in charge of getting that dirt, and so it goes a lot deeper than that. There's a whole bunch of financial stuff involved. There's some of the stuff he was doing in New Mexico was very strange, having to do with like human population experiments and genetic experiments and a bunch of weird stuff. If all of the information comes out, it will be highly fascinating, but I don't think all of it's going to come out.
Do you think they're going to hide some of it and make the government look good, or who do you think they're going to make look good by releasing these files?
I don't think it even really matters about who they make look good or bad with it.
Okay.
It just has to do with directing people's opinion on it, so that people still think this is just about the like the gross sex trafficking stuff.
Yeah.
And they never start to look at this is the way things are operated. That is the way your government operates. That's what that is how your government got the way it is. Everybody says, oh, politicians are corrupt and those bastards in DC and all of that stuff, but like, how do you think it got like that? It got like that because it's all run by these intelligence community types, and that's how they run it.
Right.
So, I'd like to see the full information release, but I mean, they can't do it. The whole thing will fall apart. If everybody understood what all that was about, I'm sure that would be the end of it. But then again, people never surprise me as to what they're willing to put up with.
People like their shows, it seems. People just want to be played like fiddles and dance to the tune of their so-called leaders, whatever that may be.
Now, I wonder if they'd keep showing up at the Summer Slams if, like, everybody got hit with a chair in the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they would.
Because, like, occasionally that happens, and those people get paid a bunch of money by the WWE.
Yeah.
But, like, if everybody had to take a chair to the face and no compensation, I wonder if they'd keep showing up. I wonder if they'd still be, diehard fans.
Probably not. Probably not.
Well, that's basically, that's metaphorically what's happening. You guys keep championing this system of human slavery, and when it smacks you down, you just go and ask for more.
Yeah. That's essentially what it seems like, that the American people, or I don't know if we can say the American people, but maybe we can, but it seems like a lot of people are willing to take a lot of crap for what the government is doing to them or what their favorite politicians are doing to them because, well, it's for the good of the country, maybe he's doing the right thing, whatever. It's just, to me, the story is all the same. We're being lied to or being stolen from by people with titles, essentially, who are ruining our lives, and it's just disgusting that we keep putting up with this time and time again.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I have some sympathy because, you can't just obviously. So some guys will take it to the extreme. There was that one guy in Arizona that went into the state house and shot some people. Shot some of his local Congress critters or something like that. And when they let him out, he went back to the state house during a public speaking phase and got up there and said, "Yeah, I'm the one who came in here and shot, and I'd do it again." like, not everybody's going to be that extreme in their approach to keeping these guys in line.
Right, and that's a terrible approach to keep people in line, actually.
But to remove your mental participation from it, just to realize that it's not so good.
Yeah.
Give us a call, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. Tired of the ever-inflating US dollar? You can live your life on Dash instead with some handy websites. BitRefill.com has been accepting Dash for years and has a ton of big-name retailers and brands including grocers, gas stations, phone refills, Amazon, and even prepaid MasterCards. Plus, many of their gift cards are available at a discount. But what about paying your bills? Spritz.finance can do that, and they can send dollars to your bank account in case you still need those for some reason. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at Dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit Dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine after a call on Friday with the Ukrainian president. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US, which Ukraine's foreign minister says amounts to the country's capitulation. Ross Cullen reports.
The call between Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelensky comes after widespread anger in Europe at the US-brokered proposal requiring Kyiv to make territorial concessions to Russia, limit the size of its armed forces and stay out of NATO as a basis for an end to the war. Germany says the leaders welcomed the US efforts to end the conflict but argued that the current front lines should be the starting point of any negotiation, and Poland says Ukraine must be part of any such talks. France said all decisions having implications for Europe and NATO require the joint support and consensus of European partners and NATO allies, respectively.
The Kremlin says it hasn't received any information about the peace plan. Moscow has reiterated it is open to negotiations and suggested Russia's advance along the front line should convince Kyiv to enter peace talks now and reach a settlement. Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
The Kremlin said Russian armed forces' effective offensive on the ground is a way to force Kyiv to a peaceful settlement. Ukrainian President Zelensky should, quote, negotiate and do it now, not later, the Kremlin spokesman urged, alleging his freedom to make decisions is shrinking as he loses territory. The official reiterated Russia remains committed to the discussions that took place in Anchorage in August and that contacts with the United States on Ukraine have not ceased. He also stressed that Russia wants to reach a peaceful settlement and would prefer not to conduct negotiations on what he called loudspeaker mode.
A British politician has been sentenced to 10.5 years in prison for accepting bribes to advance Russian interests while a member of the European Parliament. A London court found Nathan Gill received tens of thousands of dollars to make pro-Russian speeches and advance Moscow's interests in other ways. The UK Security Minister says it's a betrayal of the country. Stuart Smith has more from London.
Nathan Gill was leader of the Welsh branches of political party UKIP and its successor party Reform UK, but he accepted bribes from Russia-aligned sources while an MEP in Brussels in 2018 and 2019 when the UK was still in the European Union. During sentencing, the judge called that a grave betrayal of the electorate's trust. The police say he knew full well what he was doing and who he was doing it for. It's continuing to investigate whether others were involved.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at this week's failure of Cloudflare that brought more chaos to a range of internet activities and popular apps. The chances are you've never heard of Cloudflare because it generally sits in the background of your internet activities, acting on behalf of clients like Elon Musk's X, Zoom, Spotify, and millions of other sites to prevent denial of service attacks that could bring those services to a crashing halt. But on Tuesday, Cloudflare itself found its service failing in what the company called a significant outage after a configuration file designed to handle threatening traffic failed to do what it was supposed to do. Professor Alan Woodward is a security expert at the Surrey Centre for Cybersecurity.
The irony is quite large here. Their network is so important to all these other companies that there should be no single point of failure, but somehow looks like something's gone wrong internally. Their network just shouldn't have a single point of failure. So even if there's like an equipment failure, it should fail over to another piece of equipment. And you know, the users shouldn't notice the difference.
Millions of websites were put at risk by the Cloudflare failure, which took about 3 hours to resolve. And like an outage at Amazon Web Services last month, it again revealed just how vulnerable the internet remains to technical failures, but also to potential attacks. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main headlines again. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US. The Kremlin, meanwhile, says it has not received any information on the peace plan for Ukraine, although Moscow's reiterated it is open to negotiations. And a British politician has been sentenced.
Following today's press conference in which NASA announced its continuing search for a planet capable of supporting NASA, researcher Dr. Kenneth Heiser sat down with Onion reporters to detail their ongoing mission to find a NASA habitable planet.
Our objective is to find a planet capable of nurturing not just life, but also a sustained interest in the exploration of the cosmos. Such a planet would need to have water and proximity to light and heat, but also life forms with even the vaguest understanding of the importance of astronomical exploration. Ultimately, this would need to be a planet with organisms that have a genuine interest in expanding the limits of their knowledge.
Heiser added that any planet capable of supporting NASA would need to be able to generate a steady stream of financing to meet the agency's $18 billion annual budget.
The important thing is we just need to be patient. There's a limitless number of planets in the universe, and eventually we'll find one with the resources to support our work. We just have to, right?
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. It's talk radio you control. Give us a call. The phone number is 603-283-6160. And let us know what's on your mind tonight. In the studio, it's Stu.
And Riley O'Bill. And I'm fired up about those Democrats. They're all evil. They're all corrupt. Oh, wait. That's politicians in general. Never mind. I'm still fired up over those evil politicians.
That's okay. The party lines flip every now and then.
Isn't that so true?
Used to be the Southern Democrat pro-slavery party. Now the Democrats are the champions of diversity and
inclusion. But they're not diverse and inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
They just like to pretend to be, while preaching tolerance and instilling hate in themselves and others. They want to hate the white people, but they say they want to tolerate everybody. Okay. Makes no sense to me, but all right.
A lot of it doesn't seem to make sense. People just keep eating it up.
I know. They devour that slop like it's God's gift to humanity when it's just slop.
Mm-hmm. It's also dumb. Like, the whole Kash Patel's girlfriend thing. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
I think he used a company jet to fly to something for his girlfriend, and people were mad about it, that he's doing it on the government time. And he's like, oh, but she's a country music sensation, and like basically bragging that he even has a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because he's a nerd.
Well, politicians do things like this all the time, and, you know, they're not going to stop, so we just have to either deal with it or leave. And it's going to be hard to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But Skeeter said he's going to pay for us to leave, so
yeah, we'll see how that goes.
we'll see if he coughs up any money for us.
Mm-hmm.
My bet is he won't.
Well, we've been talking about all this WWE stuff. It's kind of not my cup of tea, but I don't know.
I think it's important to talk about on this show only because a lot of people in talk radio pay attention to it, and we are talk radio, so essentially we don't have to, but it's important to pay attention to it so we can at least comment on what people are calling into this show about and have some idea what these people are on about, you know? Because we still got to watch the show and sit back and eat the popcorn and be like, yeah, this is WWE.
Hey, did you ever think that we'd be saying Bitcoin crashed down to $86,000? Oh my goodness, it crashed all the way down to 86,000.
86,000. Oh, Bitcoin's just having a Black Friday sale, folks. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Black Friday sale. Black Friday sales. Keep stacking those sats.
I guess there's some more like reminiscent of the hard fork type controversies brewing in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
Really? Tell me more.
Luke Dash Jr. wants to change some things, and people are kind of upset about it. It might be a thing or it might not be a thing.
Yeah.
The reason it was a thing last time in 2017 when they did the SegWit edition and then the chain hard forked and you had the birth of Bitcoin Cash. The reason that happened is that more than 90% of everybody who was running Bitcoin, which is the people who decide what the rules are, more than 90% agreed on one protocol change, and then in like the last week or two before the time to make that protocol change happen, there was a massive campaign push that came from AXA, which was headed by Henry D. Castries, and he was chairman for Bilderberg Group. He paid the Blockstream guys a bunch of money, and suddenly they didn't want to do the thing that 90% or more of them wanted to do. They wanted to do it differently. And so that is why you ended up with a hard fork, because it became highly contentious. Yeah. I don't know if there will be the same contention with this one for a couple of reasons. One, it's harder to pay attention. Two, we already had our hard fork, and there are other coins out there. Bitcoin is widely agreed not the best coin for anything except for number go up.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best one for transactions or even privacy for that matter. That there'll be Monero or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also not the best coin for transactions because the fees are, I guess, relatively expensive compared to other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. And right now, the fees are reasonable for somebody who makes an American type of wage. If you live in like sub-Saharan Africa, a Bitcoin transaction fee is, that might be the value of an entire meal.
Yes.
So And that's with the relatively low fees that they are right now. I hate to think about what they're going to go up to next time. Last time I heard people paying more than $100 to get their transaction through.
Ouch.
And that's just the fee to make your transaction happen. So, yeah, Bitcoin's definitely not the best for transactions. It's not the best for privacy. They don't allow, pictures and videos on it. They consider that spam. That's part of what this upcoming argument stuff is about.
Yeah. Does the Bitcoin Cash blockchain allow pictures and videos on it though?
I think the opinion there is if you pay for it, it's not spam.
Okay.
So you paid the transaction fee to get it on there, so it's fine to have it on there. But I don't know. They've stress tested the network with larger block sizes, and it doesn't exactly show you what organic large scale use would look like, but it gives you some idea. And things didn't get funky until way past any time. It would have to be globally adopted and used by a whole lot of people around the world in order to reach that level of, you got to do something to fix it. So the idea, the consensus was, from what I understand, that throughput is not actually a problem. And that you could run all the videos and whatever you want on a blockchain, and it wouldn't necessarily become too cumbersome for people to run on a full node. That was the concern, that why they had to keep the block size small, because they wanted me to be able to run a full node.
Yeah.
But running a full node doesn't help you do anything. You have to if you want to mine. But generally, if you're gonna mine, you're just spinning up some hash rate and pointing it at a mining pool, and they handle all that for you, anyways. So running a full node is not, it's kind of useless. The claim is that it allows you to verify what happens on the chain, but if anything happens on the chain that's not what was supposed to happen, there's going to be a lot of noise. So being able to go on and verify is not that useful. So keeping the block size small was a mistake. And anyways, so the price was up to over 120,000. Now it's 86.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's just all par for the course. People want to panic about it and say, oh, it's being this way because whatever reason they want to come up with, whatever conspiracy theory, and you got to sell your Bitcoin right now, get rid of it. It's a bad investment. It's just going to fall and fall and fall. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. I mean, it can go to zero tomorrow. We're all aware of this, but as long as it has its utility in being able to spend it, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see the number go up and up and up as I stack sats, but still, I understand that that's not even theoretically possible right now.
I don't know. So there's this concept that that they want to crypto back the dollar. So like the way the dollar is now backed by oil, basically, because of the petrodollar agreement. And so this petrodollar arrangement is the thing that has propped up the value of the dollar in recent history. And since that's beginning to fail, they want to replace that with stable coins. And if the stablecoin market booms, then the Bitcoin market will likely also follow suit. I expect Bitcoin will definitely go back up and then way higher.
That's entirely possible, yeah.
Right now, Warren Buffett is super heavy on cash. He's been selling a lot of stuff, and he doesn't do that. So
I wonder why he's heavy on cash right now.
Probably because he sees an upcoming purchasing opportunity where a lot of stuff is going to be real cheap.
That might make a lot of sense.
Which is usually what happens when you can't afford to buy anything.
Yes.
Those guys just have stacks and stacks of cash, so they buy it real cheap. And then when the economy recovers and you can afford to buy something, they'll sell it to you at double the price they bought it when you couldn't afford to buy anything.
Yeah.
And then they just get richer on the up and on the down. And life just gets harder for people who have to work for their money.
It sure does. It sure does.
What else we got? There's... we could talk about the eugenicist history of the Zionist movement.
Let's talk about it.
Get into this article here on the Activist Post.
Reputable source, although the Activist Post seems more reputable than most sources.
Activist Post has been, so far, pretty good since it was bought by Charlie Robinson.
Who is Charlie Robinson, do you know?
He does a podcast called Macroaggressions, which is a great podcast name.
Okay.
And yeah, he's just a guy. He's being real estate and kind of woke up to the way things work and started a podcast. It's a pretty good one. I'm a regular listener. Anyways, he was approached by the people who owned Activist Post, and they said, "We're going to sell this thing. Do you want to buy it?" And he was like, "No." He said, "Why would I want to buy a dying publication?" And then he thought about it for a little while. He's like, maybe I could do something with this. So he bought it. And he's had writers contributing, and it's going pretty well, it seems like. And this one's from Vanessa. Ooh, interesting name. We'll just skip the middle name. Vanessa Foster. It is called The Eugenist History of Zionist Movement. A 1919 political cartoon depicting hang on. Describing this cartoon. So I won't read that because that's not going to help the radio listeners. From the late 19th century through the 1950s, Zionist leaders adopted a selective immigration policy designed to exclude undesirable Jews. The goal of the Zionist movement was to build a Jewish state in a Palestinian Arab land, and that required Jewish capitalists, skilled laborers, professionals, and fighters, not children, elderly people, or refugees. The Zionist leadership rejected, persecuted, disabled, destitute, sick, diseased, and elderly Jews because they were persecuted, disabled, destitute, sick, diseased, and elderly. They instead prioritized what they called Halutzim, or young, healthy Zionist ideologues willing to sacrifice their youth, capital, labor, and life for the cause. This is the eugenist history of Zionism in brief. Ottoman Palestine, thou shalt reject the poor. Between the 1880s and 1920s, Jews faced waves of pogroms across the Russian Empire. After the assassination of Tsar Alexander II in 1881, Jews were scapegoated, and over 200 pogroms erupted, destroying Jewish homes and businesses. A more violent wave followed the 1903 Kishinev pogrom and peaked during the 1905 Russian Revolution, with thousands of Jews murdered and entire towns devastated. By 1914, recurring outbreaks of anti-Jewish violence had displaced hundreds of thousands, fueling mass migration. Most of these migrants settled in the United States, but a small number arrived at ports in Palestine in the 1880s and 1890s. Many were poor people who had nothing. As the Zionist leader Moshe Smelansky put it, those who had no money remained in the country and became a burden on the Zionist Executive Committee. Menahem Shankin described them as miserable paupers, depressed and patched up with bundles like rag merchants, the poorest of the poor, who could not possibly be a blessing to the country. It was in this context that the Zionist movement developed its highly selective immigration policy to stem the tide of undesirables. By the early 1900s, an office was established in Jaffa to screen Jews hoping to settle in Palestine. Menachem Schenken and Arthur Rupin reviewed application letters sent from prospective migrants and told 61% of them not to come, primarily because they were too impoverished. The Zionist movement preferred wealthy Jews over poor ones. Until capital has come to the country, there will be no room for workers, Schenken wrote. The smaller the capital at the disposal of the applicant, the greater the likelihood that he would be advised not to go to Palestine. As Gur al-Rowi put it, the world's foremost expert on the topic, Schenken believed impoverished Jews would not only burden the Zionist project, but they would find life in Palestine too difficult and return to their home countries with horror stories of Palestine. That's partly because the Zionist colonies could not sustain themselves. Many of the immigrants were unskilled farmers, ill-accustomed to agricultural life, and expected higher standards of living than rural Palestine could offer. The selective immigration policy had darker roots, though. Arthur Rupin, architect of the policy, was a committed eugenicist. He even attempted to join an anti-Semitic German political party during his youth to gain social acceptance. He believed in Jewish racial distinctiveness and thought the Zionist movement ought to recast Jews with a superior racial composition and with upgraded mental and physical faculties. The idea was to create a new, corrected, and perfect type of Hebrew, to use Rupin's words. Rupin warned that the arrival of inferior Jews would imperil the entire project. This included impoverished Europeans, as noted above, but also Jews from Arab and Muslim lands, who he described as culturally, spiritually, and intellectually inferior, as well as Indian Jews, Algerian nomadic Jews, and black Jews, who were Jews by faith but not by race, and thus should not be allowed to immigrate to Palestine. Immigration wasn't about rescue or even just state building. It was about social, economic, and racial engineering. 1918 to 1922, no refugees. This point became painfully obvious between 1918 and 1922 when Ukraine witnessed the deadliest wave of anti-Jewish pogroms in modern history. 50,000 to 100,000 Jews were killed or wounded, 120,000 children were orphaned, and the entire Jewish communities were destroyed. The survivors, hundreds of thousands of destitute refugees, fled for their lives, some looking to Palestine as a safe haven. But in December 1919, Chaim Weizmann, head of the Zionist movement, rejected the Ukrainian refugees outright. While he thought Palestine could absorb thousands, the Ukrainian refugees were not suitable for the great Zionist plan, as he put it. Zionism can't provide a solution for catastrophes. Refugees were weak in body and soul, and broken vessels, not builders of the nation. Even 1%, that's bad, will spoil a great many good people, Weizmann said. He was so worried about the influx, he actually persuaded the British authorities to significantly reduce the Jewish immigration quota as Ukrainian Jews perished in tens of thousands. Palestine needed Halutzim, not refugees, and so the Ukrainian refugees in a need of a safe haven were by definition not welcome. Similarly, in Urmia, Iran, Jews faced anti-Jewish violence and famine, forcing many thousands to seek refuge in Baghdad during and after World War I. The Zionist office in Baghdad wrote to Jaffa that 1,000 refugees had escaped the oppressor's sword. And I can't believe I just read that word, sword. And many of those left behind were killed. They appealed throughout the late 1920 and 1922, emphasizing the refugees had left everything behind and were evicted from their temporary shelter in Baghdad. One must have mercy on their health. Several children have already died from the heat of the sun. Baghdad even appealed to their eugenist sensibilities. They all want to go to Palestine to work there. Many of them are strong, healthy people who can tolerate hard work and make do with little. The Zionist leadership said no. They embraced a slow and steady immigration policy, carefully selecting the right human material.
I just want to interrupt for a second and say that a lot of people say that Hitler was a terrible eugenicist, and yet here we are learning about the Jewish people creating the Zionist movement wanting to create a Jewish state with pure Jewish lineage. Huh.
Well, wealthy Jewish lineage, it sounds like.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it because they want people with money there.
Yeah, they're only looking for the right kinds of Jews.
Yeah.
Yeah, selecting the right human material, to use a term popular among Zionists at the time. So this is the way Zionism works. I'm not sure if that sounds like a good idea to you, but you're welcome to call and give us your thoughts on it.
603-283-6160 is the phone number. It doesn't sound like a good idea to me, but surely someone might think it's a good idea for Jews to have their own state.
You know, I think there's some overlapping aspects here in Mormon Zionism as well.
Yeah. We could talk about that coming back.
That's right. Give us a call, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. The French President, German Chancellor and British Prime Minister say they are fully aligned on their continued backing for Ukraine after a call on Friday with the Ukrainian President. It comes after the release of a peace plan drafted by the US, which Ukraine's foreign minister says amounts to the country's capitulation. Ross Cullen reports.
The call between Emmanuel Macron, Friedrich Merz, Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelensky comes after widespread anger in Europe at the US-brokered proposal requiring Kyiv to make territorial concessions to Russia, limit the size of its armed forces and stay out of NATO as a basis for an end to the war. Germany says the leaders welcomed the US efforts to end the conflict but argued that the current front lines should be the starting point of any negotiation, and Poland says Ukraine must be part of any such talks. France said all decisions having implications for Europe and NATO require the joint support and consensus of European partners and NATO allies, respectively.
The Kremlin says it hasn't received any information about the peace plan, details of which were leaked by several US news outlets, citing sources close to the Trump administration. Moscow has reiterated it is open to negotiations and suggested Russia's advance along the front line should convince Kyiv to enter peace talks now and reach a settlement. Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
The Kremlin said Russian armed forces' effective offensive on the ground is a way to force Kyiv to a peaceful settlement. Ukrainian President Zelensky should, quote, negotiate and do it now, not later, the Kremlin spokesman urged, alleging his freedom to make decisions is shrinking as he loses territory. The official reiterated Russia remains committed to the discussions that took place in Anchorage in August and that contacts with the United States on Ukraine have not ceased. He also stressed that Russia wants to reach a peaceful settlement and would prefer not to conduct negotiations on what he called loudspeaker mode.
A British politician has been sentenced to 10.5 years in prison for accepting bribes to advance Russian interests while a member of the European Parliament. A London court found Nathan Gill received tens of thousands of dollars to make pro-Russian speeches and advance Moscow's interests in other ways. The UK Security Minister says it's a betrayal of the country. Stuart Smith has more from London.
Nathan Gill was leader of the Welsh branches of political party UKIP and its successor party Reform UK, but he accepted bribes from Russia-aligned sources while an MEP in Brussels in 2018 and 2019 when the UK was still in the European Union. During sentencing, the judge called that a grave betrayal of the electorate's trust. The police say he knew
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can get your thoughts and ideas on the air in this final segment of the night. The phone number is 603-283-6160. And in the studio, it's Stu.
And Riley O'Bill.
Doing it live.
We are. We're talking it. We're free it. We'll talk it live. That's what we're doing here on Free Talk Live. We're talking it live.
Yeah. Or maybe we could free it live.
We could do that too. But what the it is, we'll figure that out later.
Yeah.
We'll just do it live.
Do it live. We were into this probably touchy for some people article about eugenics in the Zionist movement. We can continue with that if you'd like.
Well, before we went to our sponsors and had a word from them, we were talking about Mormonism and I guess eugenics, maybe? Zionism?
Mm-hmm.
What were you trying to get at with that?
Oh, So I know there was a very tight level of control over who came and went under the Brigham Young era of Mormonism in Utah. And I wonder what the process was for screening, like who was allowed to come and who wasn't, kind of a thing. Or maybe you just let everybody come, and if the undesirables ended up there, they just got a visit from the destroying angel.
Maybe. I find that an interesting take because I used to think that, you know, they wanted everyone that could to come to Utah. They wanted all the saints to migrate so they could gather to Zion and be part of a society of like-minded people. So maybe there was a screening process. I don't know. But it certainly seems that as Utahns, as people gathered to Utah, definitely the quote-unquote Gentiles started gathering too. And I know Brigham Young wanted to separate the church people from the quote-unquote Gentiles by having them be self-sufficient and things like that so that they weren't reliant on Gentile goods. But that's also not a very free market way to live because, you know, you got to trade with everybody that can get you the things that you want. You can't always be self-sufficient.
It might be kind of shocking for some of the listeners to hear you refer to non-Mormons as Gentiles, but that is what the Mormons call everyone else because they are the true Jews. And
well, the reason why they say that they're the true Jews is they believe that they were adopted into the house of Israel by virtue of being a member of the church, and the LDS Church today is based on this idea that God appointed prophets and apostles to lead a church so that, you know, Israel can be gathered in God's covenant with Israel, which is land and seed and inheritance or whatever it was, can be fulfilled through the Mormon Church.
Mm-hmm. And they even have a magic man they call a patriarch that will tell you which of the 12 tribes you belong to.
Did you ever get a patriarchal blessing?
I did not.
I actually did.
I could ask my brother which tribe he belongs to, and by logic deduction, I should belong to the same tribe.
I would guess that if I were to be a guessing man, I'd say that you belong to Ephraim, because I know that's the tribe I supposedly came through, was Ephraim.
That is generally, from what I hear, what like 99% of Mormons will get is that they are from the tribe of Ephraim.
Yeah.
But occasionally they come up with something crazy like the tribe of Judah or the tribe of Jacob or
Manasseh.
Yeah, Manasseh. So
it's just interesting how theology shapes people. Like, I grew up in the church, and definitely the theology has shaped me, but at the same time, I can also see how it's complete nonsense if I think about it.
Yeah, it's complete nonsense.
But that being said, I like having a community of people around me. Like here in New Hampshire, moving to New Hampshire has always been difficult. I can't say it always, but it has been a difficult transition for me being away from family. Because, I'm blind and it's hard for me to do things that normal people do.
I will amend that statement about it being complete nonsense. It was founded on complete nonsense.
Sure.
Not all of what the Mormon Church does right now is complete nonsense. The higher ups, they're just as corrupt as government officials. But as far as the
lay level people, they're just doing the best they can.
Everyday members of your local ward, they're
doing the best they can. They want to love, they want to serve, and that's what I value about attending church fairly regularly and meeting people and rubbing shoulders with them, as they would say. And so it's nice to be seen in that level of having community. And that being said, I'm completely aware that I don't buy into the story of religion being true or any sort of organized religion being true, including Mormonism. So, founded on folk magic and Joseph Smith being a treasure digger, but definitely in a lot of ways it has produced really good people.
Yeah, that's for sure. And
you and me included, man.
I don't know. Certainly they had some effect on how my life is shaped up.
Yeah.
Mormonism. Have you been to a Fest and Testimony meeting?
I have several times in my life.
I just mean recently.
I'm trying to remember. Did I go for November? I don't think I went for November, but probably in October or September. I don't remember when I last went, honestly.
Are they still running them the same way?
Yeah, they're still running them the same way.
I'm so tempted every once in a while to just go down to the thrift store and pick up some monkey clothes and go in there.
You should do it, man.
And go up to that mic and just let them know how holy and pious their founding prophet was.
I would love to be there for that show. Oh man, so awesome.
It would it's so funny too, because they have this hesitance to stop anybody from speaking. Like, you can get away with it for a while before the bishop stands up and tells you to take a hike.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about Kolob, which is supposedly the planet nearest to God's throne.
Oh, Kolob's great. We could talk about the Quakers on the moon.
We could. Just supposedly said there were Quakers on the moon. Oh man, there's so many things we could talk about.
That was a Brigham Young thing, but
oh, okay.
there's lots.
I think Brigham Young also said the sun might be inhabited too. So
I think he did say that.
And I've heard some members say, "Well, I don't know if it could be or not, but Brigham Young said it, so maybe it is. We don't know." I'm like, no, the sun is not inhabited. It's a ball of flaming fire.
I've heard people say things like that too. Like an appeal to your crazy Mormon prophet.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the phones. We've got a caller on the line. On the screen caller. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hello. You're on Free Talk Live.
Let me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Go for it.
Oh, hey, yeah, I was actually calling about, I just now tuned into the station, but I was calling about a comment, maybe like 2 conversations ago, about the Venezuelan situation and the drug boats and killing the people, and, if that's like right or wrong, and if we really should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I guess I just look at it, like my thoughts on that. I've done about 12 years in the military, and I'm a combat veteran. And like those boats that's coming in, like let's say it, the fentanyl, whatever drugs are on the boats, but that's killing a lot of Americans. A lot of kids. There's people that get hooked on it, commit suicide.
The drugs just jump right off the boat and start killing kids? That's horrible. I've never heard of such a thing.
Well, no, they don't just jump right off the
Especially
boat.
Venezuelan boats.
Yeah.
Like, really? A lot of drugs come from Venezuela?
Well, the comment that I'm talking about was specifically, I believe you said, and the man on the call was calling them drug boats from Venezuela.
You must have been listening to Another Night, but I'm willing to have a conversation about
Yeah, let's
this.
have a conversation about this. Because I'm curious why. I'm curious why we should blame Venezuela for this rather than the CIA.
Well, okay, well, yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point.
Because in my mind, the CIA is the biggest drug dealer.
You know about the Marines
that
were guarding the poppy fields in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't really big into politics, and I never believed our government would do anything like that until, I guess, when I seen a lot of corruption. I guess when Trump ran the first time, and I just, on both sides, I just, I started talking to a lot of people, and
That's what Ronald Reagan said. He said, I would never believe our government would do such a thing until I found out they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people. So I guess, it's I guess it's a loaded conversation. So, I guess I was saying that, I guess what I was meaning to say, if it's, okay, I could see in blowing a boat up, if we knew it was drugs, by whoever's important to America, I wouldn't see, any other way to, I guess, protect our people, or whoever it's going to.
Drugs wouldn't find a welcome market in America if society wasn't so messed up from the condition of human slavery that we impose upon each other. That's in my estimation. Nobody would buy the drugs because life would be more fulfilling, and you wouldn't need, heroin to escape it.
Yeah, it's true. But where we're at currently, CIA, whoever brought it in, it's a market now. People depends on it. If it's not from Venezuela, we're going to get it from somewhere else. I completely understand that.
And further, I would claim that the Venezuela thing has almost nothing to do with drugs and almost everything to do with oil.
Could be. You're correct. I guess the comment I heard was the bombing of the drug boats leaving Venezuela. But I guess, we'd have to say, was it going to America? Was it coming to us? Is it going to a CIA personnel? That's all questions to be asked too. But, I guess, there's a lot of casualties of war, and
sure.
It's hard to make the right situation all the time, but sometimes we have to go to extremes, I believe.
I didn't catch your name, sir. What's your name?
Safe. Oh, it's Edward Farmer.
Edward. So, Edward,
yes, sir.
I like you, I guess, in a way, am concerned about major drug trafficking in the United States and how destructive, drug use can be on society. However, I don't think government is going to solve this problem by bombing boats coming out of Venezuela or by arresting drug dealers or killing drug dealers. I think the big thing to do to change the hearts and minds of people is actually help them find meaning in their existence so drugs aren't the problem they are.
That's right. There's plenty of heroin in the place where I live, but I'm not worried about it getting into my veins because I'm not going to put it there, and certainly no one else is going to put it there. And my children aren't. They're going to have a fulfilling enough life that they don't have a desire to go seek that out either. And that's the answer.
Yeah, you're right. I guess I sort of speak. Maybe I'm a little biased in a certain way because I'm a recovering addict myself.
Sure.
I got injured overseas And of course, I got introduced to opiates through the VA.
Yep.
Just like, I would say most of, my unit that made it back, probably 50% of them died from overdose or suicide once they, once we left combat and was out of the military. we have a higher casualty rate from drugs here than we did from combat.
I can imagine. I mean, you're trying to use something to help medicate you and bring you back into normal society or treat the pains you're dealing with, and so something easy comes along and you get addicted to it.
Yeah. And then, and of course, it makes you feel better mentally as well. So,
sure.
You want to keep taking it because, if one makes you feel better, two makes you feel better, a lot better. And I guess I was looking at the Venezuelan situation, I guess, as an addict, thinking, well, like if it's coming, if we could stop it from coming over here, whatever means necessary would be great. But I mean,
I don't think
we would
can.
We would get it from somewhere else.
That's right. People would just grow in their backyards.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's that's a tough topic, I mean, I guess, I don't know if I disagree with it or, totally agree with it. Because like you said, I'm sure there's a lot of things about my government I don't know myself. I find out more, each year I get older. And the more I watch all the news channels, I'm like, it opens my mind up a little more every day. But yeah, I guess that's really all I had to say, But, you made sense with the CA situation. And you get my brain thinking, it would come from other places. And if our government is bringing it in, I guess our government shouldn't be killing the people bringing it in as well.
That's right. Thanks for the call tonight.
Thanks, Edward.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good call. I think it's also important to let people know that if you want to disagree with us, you're welcome to disagree with us. This is what we do here. This is why we do Free Talk Live. It isn't to tell you the truth and demand that you listen to our story. We definitely come at things from the perspective of libertarianism and liberty, but we don't claim to have the truth in talk radio. At least I don't. I don't know about you, Stu, but I don't claim to have the truth in talk radio. I don't claim to be the number one source of truth in talk radio or the no spin zone. I might spin things a certain way, and you might spin things a certain way. And so, we love to have discussions to try and get to whatever the truth may be. This is why we do Free Talk Live. At least this is why I do Free Talk Live. Is I don't know what the truth is, and I don't know if you know what the truth is too. But let's have a discussion about it.
Well, I know the truth is fleeting, and it's hard to nail down anything that's true. Some people would claim that that truth can't even be considered existent. But that's a ridiculous argument because existence exists, and that statement is true. If you try to argue against it, you just proved that it's correct, if that makes any sense. So certainly some things are true and can be known.
Sure, we can know...
as far as agendas, everybody's got one. So
we can know various things, like we can know whether it's hot or cold, we can measure temperatures, we can measure things with equipment, but, there are also truths that are subjective. Do I love my girlfriend? And that's a subjective truth.
Yeah. As far as the agendas thing, everybody's got one, and where that becomes dangerous is when people seem to mask it or tell you it's something other than what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure the agenda for Riley and I to be here talking right now is that we would like for people to suffer less coercion or an increase in freedom.
I would love to see people live more free and be able to make choices that, benefit not just themselves by allowing for more freedom, but other people around them. I think that's the most important thing, is that freedom to me looks like the ability to make my own choices with my body my life, and my liberty. And if I have property, I want to make my own choices regarding that too. That's not to say that there will not be consequences. There are always consequences to my actions. But, for me, freedom is the ability to make my own choices with my life, liberty, or property. And in order for me to do that, there are skills I have to learn. Like, as a blind person, I have to navigate the world differently than Stu does. Stu can do different work than I can. And so we have to consider all of these things in order to decide what freedom looks like to us. And this is the beauty about coming to New Hampshire, is we're working on developing what a free society looks like. We might get it wrong, but at least we're trying.
Yep. It seems to be going, I don't know, better than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
7 years ago when I kind of first heard about this, I sort of thought this was just going to be pretty silly, the Free State Project. And I didn't actually move here to become part of the Free State Project, but I did get wrapped up in it when I inadvertently landed here, and I don't regret it. It's full of very diverse people. Some of them who I can get along with great. Some of them, I'm happy to let them, work on freedom over there in their own way.
Yeah. Yep.
And that works too, because it takes all kinds.
It definitely does. It definitely does.
Yep. I'm certainly not going to, be advocating for this or that bill or any governmental policy. I'm not interested in voting, but I've got my own ways of increasing freedom, and I'm happy for the people that are doing those things that I'm not willing to get into, because they do have an overall net positive effect, such as, they got rid of the inspection law here in New Hampshire, which is the recent big thing, the big win.
Yeah, they did.
And that, that's great, because that's just a bunch of nonsense that was pushed down by UN agendas, and it's not making life better for the average American to have to inspect their vehicle.
If a car mechanic wanted to continue car inspections, they should be allowed to do so. However, it shouldn't be mandatory. And what I mean by that is, if a car mechanic said, any vehicle that passes an inspection to make sure it's roadworthy gets a discount on repairs or a discount on things, I think that'd be a great policy to have.
Sure. Yep, that would be perfectly in line with, a voluntary method of keeping the cars on the road in your local area safer.
Yes.
So a lot of the so I haven't read too much about this. Are they not requiring any inspection, no safety, and no emissions test?
I don't know all the details, but I don't think there's going to be a safety inspection or emission tests, as far as I'm aware. And if someone knows, they can call in at 603-283-6160 and correct us.
Because that emissions test is highly egregious. It's a serious problem.
Yeah.
They make you do this thing, which is, they've already got the standards set too tightly for what it is, so that your car is almost certain to fail unless it's like brand new, or you just did a complete overhaul of the engine and exhaust system. And they made it this way on purpose, just to keep you busy and wasting your money on stuff, and to create a protected industry when less than 1% of the vehicles on the road are creating 99% of the pollution, because they have some exemption, and you got these few just guzzlers that drive around with almost they might not even have an exhaust on, and that's fine in the place where they got it all licensed up. And so it's not helping. So I'm really happy that they got rid of that, even though that's not the type of thing that I would be into. I like to promote freedom in other ways.
What other ways do you like to have freedom in your life, Stu?
My main focus is preventing the mental indoctrination of some particular youth, meaning my children.
Yeah.
Raising them to, be freedom-minded and self-capable, self-responsible young humans.
That's an important role for a father to do, to teach children, because children are the future for sure.
Yep. I also fix people's houses because everyone needs a place to live.
Yep.
Anyway, that's it for us tonight. I think there will be no show tomorrow, so you can get back with us next week.
Right after Thanksgiving.
This has been Free Talk Live.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 13th through the 16th for the 8th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a